What is up, RotoGrinders? 2 hours nonstop MLB DFS conversation taking you right up the lock, starting right now. Big boys slate on a Friday night. Myself, Team 7904, if you want to get all technical, joined by Chief, returning champion Will Priester, as well as Head Chopper. Chop, Friday, how we feeling? We're having fun today. Big boys slate. We did lose a game. If you guys missed it, we lost the Yankees and Texas. Potentially some diciness in cores. According to Roth, I'll go ahead and drop this in chat for the people. It's yellow-orange, so not freaking out just yet, but do want to keep our eyes on the weather there. Of course, Roth comes on in about an hour and 15 minutes. We'll give you guys some clarity, an update as far as what's going on out there in Colorado. Chop, Friday, how we doing?
We are doing all right, Dean. How about yourself, man? God, and my AirPods, I got to get my AirPods. They broke on me, so I got to figure that out. But I'm good otherwise. I'm good otherwise, man.
I'm down to one. Does everybody lose one AirPod? I lost one, and I actually bought a backup because
I've never lost one. No, I don't know how people do that.
They're really small.
You had a case for them and everything. They come in a pair. I could not just wear just one of them. If I'm gonna put them in, I'm gonna put both of them in.
I got one in, and one. The other you got nothing. So I get the best of both worlds, I guess. I don't know, but I'd probably be talking really loud if I had them both in. I don't really know, but that's kind of the way I've been going. But I did buy a backup pair. There was you know what it was? It was an Amazon sale. I can't resist a good sale, so I do have that. I got to open up. So I can say 3 earbuds lurking somewhere. But yeah, life's all right. Life's fun. I ranted a little bit pre-show about me breaking my glasses. Fell asleep with them on and woke up like laying on them, and that was they woke up and they were kind of disaster. Couldn't fix those, so I'm kind of I can't really see very well. This is my backup pair. This is like my backup of a backup. So if I misread something, my apologies. If I can't see a number, because my eyes have changed since the last time I bought these glasses. Probably not good for my eyes. I think that's bad, right? To wear the wrong prescription. But we're doing it in the short term. Will, how about yourself? How's life? How's Friday?
Yeah, good, man. I've had a pretty, I guess I'll say chill Friday. Did a few best balls, Dean. So what I've been doing, Dean, is I'm in this $7 10 entry max on Underdog. I've been just so I've already got like my main teams in on that one. And so I've been firing off like some different strategies. So today I went with like what I call like an ultra zero running back strat, like ultra zero running back. I got like 10 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 4 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, pretty much got a pair for all the quarterbacks, a little handcuff there. Listen, that's an extreme strategy, but I'm just trying to, like I said, Dean, this is my first year. So this is kind of like R&D for me. And so, just kicking some things around. Obviously I have some, what you would consider standard drafts, where I got 5 or 6 running backs and 5 or 6 wideouts and such. But, these last couple here, I think I'm just going to try some interesting strategies. I think my next one, Dean, I'm going to try to just draft whoever I want, whenever I want, and not really worry about ADP. So, maybe I draft Patrick Mahomes first. I'm not going to do that, but you get what I'm saying. I'm just going to say, hey, screw ADP. I'm just going to draft whoever I want, and let's actually see how these lineups shape up versus if I draft it with, what I consider to be optimal strategy.
I'm about probably 60 or 70 drafts in on the $20 on DK. So that's kind of my favorite place to draft. I like the 2 extra picks. Underdog I've been hitting as well. And also drafters, I probably knocked out 25 or so. So I've seen some things. And I'm not trying to pretend like I'm a best ball influencer or expert or whatever. But yeah, I've seen a lot of weird. I saw Lamb chop. Lamb's holding out, I guess, or a hold in, or whatever they're calling it. How concerned are you about your Cowboys? He tweeted yesterday, like LOLing at Jerry Jones, saying like, yeah, there's really no urgency to get his contract done. Well, Chop, I don't know if you heard me or not. I'm seeing you messing with your ears. Maybe you heard that, maybe you didn't. But Lamb dropped
Run it by me again. What happened?
I was just asking about CeeDee Lamb.
Oh.
And I don't know if you saw him tweeting yesterday. He was tweeting Jerry Jones like LOL. Like Jerry Jones saying like, yeah, there's no urgency taking care of his contract. And Lamb's like, yeah, okay, LOL. And he right when that happened, I was drafting, and I got him 5th overall. I don't know if you've been playing best ball or just drafting in general.
This was actually pretty good.
Okay.
He's been 2 or 3 in most drafts. He's been 2 or 3 in most drafts.
Okay, so
are we concerned?
First of all, Dean, I got my AirPods working, so that's good. I got that. I had to repair them again. I had to, remove them from my iPhone and repair them again. So they're working now.
Good.
CeeDee Lamb. Okay, so Dean, later this month, I'll be drafting 3rd in my home league best ball, the one that matters. I'll be drafting 3rd. Man, that is going to be a tough spot. I might trade out of there because I know CD is going to be there, and I know he's the guy you should take. I am extremely concerned that we're not going to get a full season out of him. I'm worried.
Really?
Right. I'm kind of worried. It's not just him coming to camp and then getting back into it, Dean. There's one of 2 ways this could go. You're in a contract year and you're going to go out there and you're going to just go crazy, or all of a sudden your hamstring's a little tight. I'm not risking anything right now, and you guys are screwing me. So guess what? I'm going to sit down for the next 4 or 5 games. I'll be ready for the playoffs, but I'm not going to be, like that. That could really. So I'm really worried about that particular spot and him being there for me. I'm a little worried, Dean, right now. I don't know what's going on. Like there's a market set. You're either going to pay him or you're not. If you're the
they're going to pay him. Why would they have to? They have no depth at receiver.
Why wouldn't they do it? Like you can defer it a little bit. Like you can tell CD, listen, man, for the best of the ball club this year, you're still going to be making X amount of dollars, but we're going to lock you up for the next 5 years after that, 140 million or whatever. Get it done, man. I don't understand what they are waiting for. Like.
What's wrong with Grandpa Jerry? What's going on?
I've heard rumors, Will. I've heard rumors. Jerry is about to step down. He's getting old. That's going to be it for him. So the boys are making the financial decisions, and rumor is they want to maximize every dime they can get out of it, and they're not worried about big contracts, and they're not worried about being as competitive and winning a Super Bowl like Jerry was. That's just rumor mill from Dallas boards, Dean. But I mean, it happens, man.
I got like 30% Jalen Tolbert, so I wouldn't be too miserable if we get a holdout from Lamb. But it seems like they have no leverage because he's basically the entire offense, right? But one more thing, we'll move into baseball. But you said you have 3, and you're not. You say he's going to be there. How are you so certain? Like who's going at 2?
McCaffrey is number 1. There's no doubt about it. Well, I should take that back. It's more than likely Tyreek Hill is going number 2 in this league.
Okay.
Just based on the history of the league, I can kind of tell you how it's going to go. So Lamb will be sitting there for me. Like if Lamb goes 2nd and Tyreek's sitting there for me, I'm ecstatic. I'm fine with that. But I got a feeling it's going to come down. It's going to come down to, do I want to go with CD and take that risk or not?
Yeah, I mean, either way, I feel pretty good with any of those players. It's a little tricky as far as the drafts. Like it kind of flattens out in round 2. So like 10, 11, 12 was kind of the rough spot to get this year for my estimation. But okay, we got a big boy slate, a lot of baseball to talk about. We're on for an hour plus till crunch time comes in. Got a lot of teams to power rank. Chop set the board today. We won't say what it is just yet, but if TJ's out there, TJ is going to be tilted. TJ is going to be angry. He's not going to like it. I haven't even seen Chop's answers, and I know TJ is not going to like it. But looking forward to that. Give me the overview here, Chop, as far as what we're seeing. The Braves, of course, biggest total on the board, no surprise, in Colorado. Team total around 6, locked in for 9 on the road. Super chalky pitchers as well, despite the fact the slate is huge. Jack Flaherty making his debut. I think it's his home debut for LA, right? Was he home last time? I don't recall. Well, he's newly acquired Jack Flaherty. He's been spectacular this season, taking on a Pirates team that we're not necessarily afraid of. 45% currently is the ownership on DK, despite the fact this slate is massive. It thins out pretty quickly as far as arms. We have a chalky Robbie Ray, which is never comfortable, 35% currently. And then it's really flat after that. Just a bunch of dudes that are like in the teens Sabali, other pitchers that you don't really feel spectacular about per se, but they are cheaper and they help you get the big bats. Wheeler is pretty good too, but he's the odd man out amongst the pricey options. Tougher matchup there in Arizona. But Chop, how are you seeing it? Give me the landscape as far as the slate, the old rundown. What do you got for me?
I mean, 12 games, like Friday, 12 games. You could literally play whoever you want. There's options everywhere, all over the pitching. There's expensive, there's middle, and there's even some cheap ones we'll talk about. There's plenty of that. There's offense coming from everywhere. There's we got Atlanta going to Colorado for the game one of that series. We know what they say about the road team game one in Colorado. Listen, Dean, here's a golden rule or a steadfast rule that always happens in DFS. Okay, road team goes to Colorado and lays an egg the first two games after you've loaded up on them, and you're scrapping, and then the third game you are ready to unload the entire arsenal on that team because they will break out, and they're on like a New York Mets yesterday, a showdown slate. That's all they're in the middle of the afternoon and you can't even unload on them, man. I hate it when that happens. But we got Atlanta there tonight, so that's going to be a big talking point as far as offense. After that, you think it thins out at pitcher. It really thins out after Atlanta. Like, it goes all over the place, and for every team that looks good offensively, you got probably poke holes in it based on something, pitching, matchup, ballpark, whatever. So I don't know, man. It's going to be very interesting, and I think your big decision points are up top pitching and Atlanta on offense, and then you got to figure that out.
Yeah, Robbie Ray. Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, wrote about it today in the musings about the old Robbie Ray rule. You're supposed to back down a little bit when he's super popular. You're supposed to get in when he's not. He's expected to be pretty popular. By the way, I should have mentioned it's a free Friday, freebie Friday. What are we giving away for free on Friday? Chop, you're in these streets. The fantasy pick'em tool, I'll go ahead and drop it in chat for a multitude of sites, for Prize Picks, for Sleeper, for DK Pick 6, for Underdog. I'll go ahead and drop this in chat. Whatever site that you're playing on, it'll just help you, give you it'll list them in order of the biggest edges you have. Make it super obvious as far as what the best bets are according to the current lines. That is free for everybody. You do not need to be an RG premium member. King is saying in chat that it's a fact, it's a real stat. Road team sucks in Coors for 2 games, not just the first game, the first 2 games. Show me the data. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I want to see the data because people just say these things and I've never actually seen somebody do the math. Will, you are historically, you're famous for always saying no to Coors. It's your Braves. Your Braves are in Colorado tonight. No Adam Duvall, by the way, if you expected him to play baseball this evening. He may. He's just not starting the game. Different lineup for Atlanta. So, adjust accordingly. I believe Loreno cracked the start. Yes, Soler, Riley, Azuna, Olsen, Arcia, Murphy, Loreno, Kelnick, and Whit Merrifield, which is like my least favorite click on the Merrifield is so toast. There's your mush of the day. Will, what do you want to add as far as your overview? Braves almost a 6 total, pretty clearly the most popular team on the board, facing a person named Tanner Gordon, which sounds made up, but I did see a picture. I saw a proof of life. He does exist. He'll be throwing baseballs tonight versus the Braves. Overall, what do you want to add as far as your perspective when it comes to this slate? We'll dive in and talk about pitchers in a second, but overview is what?
Oh, yeah, I mean, in terms of Coors, I mean, you guys know, typically I'm going to fade Coors on such a big slate. The Braves aren't going to be over-owned today, but they're going to be one of the higher-owned stacks for sure. And so I'm not really worried about Coors too much. I mean, the right side is going to be a lot lower owned, so that's kind of the Coors overview. I think there's just a lot of good offenses here today, spread out, and so on such a big slate, you can't play everyone. But as a result, you're going to get some really good offenses, very low ownership. So I really like that. And then in terms of just the pitching overview, what I will say that I think did shock me was I assumed Jameson Taillon was going to pick up a little bit more ownership today against the White Sox, and he's coming in pretty low. Now, I understand it's the Robbie Ray effect and the Jack Flaherty effect, Obviously, those guys have a lot more strikeout upside. But I did anticipate that Taillon was going to be a little bit higher on against the White Sox, and he is not. So that was something that was good for me. Taillon's a guy I do like today, 8,200 to get in some lineups. But that's kind of my overview, and we will keep rolling from there.
Just want to note that Weather Edge does like that game for hitting in Chicago. Typically, we talk about Wrigley, how good it is as far as how much it matters as opposed as far as weather. But interesting to note, in Weather Edge, 76 game sample, 72 degrees, 12 miles per hour, dead center, blowing out. 31% bump in homers over those games, and a 21% bump in runs. Just an 8 total in the game, which I guess has to do with the fact that Crochet will be out there for, 4 innings or so. Who knows how long he's going to pitch. He's really good. And that White Sox lineup is pretty inept. So maybe all that stuff combined, still just an 8 total. But I thought it was interesting that Weather Edge really, really likes that game. I should note that Cleveland, Minnesota, not on FanDuel, but it's on DK. So just understand that as well. They're playing a doubleheader. The second half will be on DK. It will not be on FanDuel. Trying to see if there's anything else as far as weather and Weather Edge. I don't think there is. The other thing, of course, is just going to make sure that the Atlanta-Colorado game plays. I'll go ahead and read just what Roth wrote. Colorado's been dealing with scattered showers and storms around for the past week, and they've thus far been able to navigate that without much concern. The storm coverage is a bit higher tonight, and I think a delay of some sort is quite possible, and a postpone is not fully off the table. Personally, I don't think I'd fade the best hitting spot for a low chance of a postpone, but if you want zero risk, that is certainly an option. And again, this stuff will get updated, but that's where Ross stood when he wrote this earlier today. Will, are you in on the Jack Flaherty chalk? Are you doubling down with pairing him with someone like Robbie Ray on DK? We got to roster 2 pitchers. I don't think the pitching depth is very good. I know you mentioned you like Jameson Taillon. He's not great, but he gets to face Chicago, the White Sox, so that helps. But overall, it's such a big slate. I think it thins out pretty quickly as far as arm talent. We mentioned Wheeler. Wheeler's a really talented pitcher, but he's pricey, and it's not the best matchup there in Arizona. Jose Barrios is just, what is his ceiling game? Bryce Miller, kind of a tough matchup against the Mets. Good ballpark, but he's another guy that kind of don't push him too hard. Martin Perez, if you want 13 DK points, he'll get you 13 DK points. If you want 14 DK points, he's going to get you those 13 DK points against the Marlins. Give me your thought process, up and down as far as the pitchers. I know you kind of touched on it, but if you can zoom in a little bit, and do you have a definitive stand when it comes to Flaherty, Robbie Ray?
Obviously, I think those 2 guys are 2 of the better pitchers on the slate. Flaherty, because I think he's got the upside and the leash and a fairly good matchup against the Pirates. Robbie Ray is similar situation. Maybe he doesn't quite have as long of a leash. We'll see, but I definitely think the strikeout upside is there. I think I wrote him up today. He's sitting around a 35% K rate on the season. Only 3 starts, but he has typically been a guy that's going to be around, 27, 28, 29% in terms of the K rate. Matchup with Detroit, there are definitely some strikeouts there. So at 8,600, I do like him. I was actually shocked that Flaherty got this much ownership. I know in Nevada, I think he's around 48%. I think you were saying about 45 in terms of RG. But I definitely think he's the clear-cut option for cash, him and Robbie Ray. If you want to get those guys in, it's going to be chalky for tournaments, but I'm going to be playing some different stacks anyway, Dean. So, if you're playing the chalk pitchers, then if you get different in your stacks, then you still got a shot to take down a GPP, especially if the chalk pitchers show you that a chalk pitchers for a reason and really, put up some nice scores. I do think this is a spot where Flaherty could possibly get to 30 fantasy points. I'm not saying he will. I'm saying it's definitely a possibility. I do think this is a spot where Robbie Ray could get 25 fantasy points. All in all, I like them. Once again, I do like Taillon at 8,200 against the White Sox. I don't think Taillon's getting like 25, but I think he can get to 20 in this spot. And then I know my boy Kirk Dees has got the red dot on Perez and Cabrera. Cabrera's a guy that, man, if he just doesn't walk, 25 bats today, Dean, He's got enough strikeout upside. Now it's a terrible matchup for him. San Diego doesn't strike out a ton, but at that price, we don't need him to get 8 strikeouts. I mean, if he gets 5 or 6 and just doesn't get pummeled, Dean, if he can go 5 innings, get 5 or 6, and maybe give up a run or 2 at the most, as long as he doesn't, like I said, walk a bunch of people, we're sitting pretty. So, and we're not getting a ton of ownership on these cheaper guys like I thought. So I thought we were going to see a lot more ownership on Perez, a lot more ownership on Cabrera, but we're not seeing that. Same thing for Taillon. So if you're doing any tweaking between, pairing Robbie Ray with someone else or pairing Flaherty with a different pitcher, you're already different right out of the gate.
Yeah, and ownership, by the way, outside of like Flaherty and maybe Robbie Ray and the Braves, to me doesn't matter. Like everything. Like just play what you want, play what you like. If you like a team, don't worry about ownership. Flaherty's the guy that's going to be owned. Ray's the guy that's going to be owned. The Braves are going to be owned, and that's basically the chalk on this big slate. Everything else, the pie is going to be cut up so small. I do see Mike in chat says Guestin has not seen Perez's last 2 starts. Yes, he did put up 22 points on DK, and good for him. I was kind of leaning in on the joke, but historically, Martin Perez is not a guy that has ceiling games, not a guy that's going to win slates. So you're not when the slate's like 11 or 12 games, 17.8% K rate, but he's fine. Like he's perfectly fine if he helps you get an extra batter to a good matchup as well. But yeah, you mentioned Cabrera. I'm curious to get Chop's thoughts as far as pitchers as well. Cabrera, 4th biggest K rate on this slate, 29.8%. The issue with him is he gives up homers, way too many, 1.86 homers per 9. A little bit unlucky as far as the homer to fly ball, 24.4%. So you can argue that away, and that's why his SIERA is 2 runs lower than his ERA. His ERA 5.96, his SIERA 3.96, xFIP is 3.73. The other issue is he's walking people, 13% walk. So he's really interesting for tournaments. I do think he's got to be in that tournament pool for you. You can tell yourself a story with Cabrera striking out 8. You can strike out 8 and walk 4 and give up 2 or 3 homers. You can do all that in the same game, I suppose, but he is super cheap. And probably has more ceiling than Perez, but Perez is quote-unquote safer. Chop, your thoughts as far as scraping the barrels when it comes to pitchers, and are we just eating the chalk when it comes to Flaherty and Ray?
Yeah, I mean, I'll play some Flaherty and Ray. I'll be underweight compared to the field on them, but I'm going to play them. I'm not going to not play them. And then as far as scraping the barrel, I don't mind it. You mentioned Cabrera. Yeah, I've got this little rule, man. This year, at least, I'm not playing anybody against San Diego. I'm sorry, they just don't strike out. They're a really solid hitting club. They're not going to torch you with a bunch of runs, but they don't strike out. They limit your upside pretty well. So I'm not going that route. But you mentioned Martin Perez. I will go that route. That's a really cheap price tag. It's a good matchup. It's one of these things. I also looked at Miami, and I've got Miami semi-high on the tier board. Perez is always there to be stacked against. It feels like you should stack against him, but he can be solid, man. And this offense is not good. So, yeah, I think there's something there to that one. And then there's other guys that, I don't know. I don't mind. That's the big cheap one that, Savali is in the mix, although I want to play more Cincy than Savali. There's other guys down there. I think you got to get different, man. Just in general, find something that, maybe Perez or whoever you want to play down there isn't nearly as good as who's chalky in the mid category, Bryce Miller or Robbie Ray or something. But maybe the uniqueness and all that extra money, you smash by them by loading up on certain bats. They go crazy. I don't know, man. Maybe it's not a stacking day, Dean. Who knows, man? Maybe it's Braves are the only stack you really want, and then you load up on some other bats.
I mean, 12 games. Some teams should really put up a hurting on somebody that we don't really know who it is, but somebody should.
They say. You know what they say. Somebody's hurting for a squirting, Dean.
That's not the route I was going to go.
Oh, all right, my bad.
I mean, I hear them say a lot of things. I heard that before. That's not the route.
Keeping you.
I was anticipating you were going. By the way, Luis Arraez revenge game. So he's definitely not going to – he never strikes out versus anybody, even players in teams he doesn't have revenge against at all. but like he's definitely not going to strike out in his revenge game. He might even get a double in his revenge game, right? I think he's got a chance to get a double. His 80 ISO this season in 301 plate appearances versus righties. What is his K rate though? You guys want to play the game? Will, what is Luis Ariz? What is his K rate versus righties?
Is it 8%?
Chop, higher or lower?
He's a lefty versus right. I'd say lower. I'd go lower.
2.3%.
God,
dude just never strikes out. Doesn't walk either. 3.3%.
I'm going to tell you right now. People call me crazy here. That's going to come in handy in the playoffs. I think they're a real threat, Dean.
San Diego?
Yeah, I think they're a threat in the National League. I do.
Okay. Should I get some shares? We're assuming Tatis is going to be back at some point, right?
I would think so, and that's just gravy, icing. They just don't strike out. So that's going to come in handy, and they're just going to limit these games to like 6 innings, man. The bullpen's really good. They got pieces, man. I think they did a good job at the trade deadline.
It's funny because they disappointed so badly, a couple years ago. Was it last year as well? Trying to think when they traded for Soto.
It's when they got all the big names in the trades. I mean, when you sign the big names, people expect you to go to the World Series, and baseball doesn't quite work like that. The only team that gets away with this with a little bit more frequency is the Dodgers. Outside of the Dodgers, and I guess the Phillies kind of got away with it with the trade Turner signing and Schwarber. But generally speaking, when you sign the big names, that's not a guarantee to go to the big one.
They'd look a lot better with C.J. Abrams and Mackenzie Gore and James Wood. But, alas, they made the trade for the rental for Soto that just did not work out for them. All right. Anything else we should talk about here as far as pitchers? We do have a bunch of teams to rank, so I do want to get to hitting pretty early. I'm trying to see who's being thrown out there in the chat. Yeah, Barrios, Mr. Richard asking about Barrios. Picking out Oakland, and Oakland still they're pretty good. They're much better than we thought they were. They're better outside of Oakland, obviously. I actually like some of the A's today, and Barrios is professional pitcher. He's like professional innings eater at this point, right? He's fine, but nothing special about him. Ownership, by the way, we kind of talked about it. It's basically Flaherty and Ray, and everybody else is essentially in the teens or lower. So, it's kind of a mixed bag. We have a Barrios currently at 9%. Does anybody have a Barrios take? He's 7.8, fine as an SP2, but he's okay. But I'm not seeking him out.
I think the strikeouts are too low. Just getting knocked around a little bit this season, Dean. Pretty high WOBA to both sides of the plate. 326 overall, 317 to lefties, 337 to righties. I just don't think he's got. I mean, he's cheap. Don't get me wrong. 7,800 is cheap, but I still think I like the upside of the Oakland lineup more than the upside of Barrios.
You got anything on Barrios, Chop? The other thing I see somebody in chat throwing on Quintana. Quintana is kind of, sort of, basically Martin Perez, essentially. I think of them kind of similar, right? Lefties that aren't necessarily going to overpower, but they could be fine, but not put up a huge score. Anything on Barrios or Quintana, Chop?
Barrios is he's going to walk a lot of guys, and he can get himself into trouble with walks. He used to be able to get away with it in fantasy because he strike guys out. He's not striking anybody out. I just don't know why.
18% this year.
And then I'm looking at, and I started to dig into the slate, and I was like, dang, I almost like Oakland stacks more than Barrios, and that's not a good thing. So out on Barrios, Quintana was kind of similar at first. I was like, maybe we can play because this team's Seattle's going to strike out, and they got that hanging over their head this year. Everybody knows that. But then I started digging in and but he's not that good, and he's not going to strike guys out that much. They might be able to hit him around a little bit with some power. They do have some guys in that lineup against left-handed pitching that are pretty decent. So those are not two guys that I'm necessarily very going to play very much.
And they did make a couple of trades too, small trades. I mean, they got a Rosarina and Turner, which helped to bring it down a little bit against lefties. I mean, look, they still got some guys at 30%, but I mean, the whole lineup was almost at 30, and now between Robles and Rosarina and Turner, that's helped to bring it down. Enough, I think, to limit his upside for sure.
So Martin Perez, 17.8% Ks, Quintana 18.7. Basically the same walks. Perez 8%, Quintana 8%. I'd cut off the decimal points. Pretty similar. Homer to fly ball. A homers per 9, Quintana 1.37, Perez 1.42. And they've been very similar pitchers this year. Martin Perez by a 5 ERA, Quintana 4. So, if we're looking at ERA and stuff like that. But, I think the better matchup, is taking on the Marlins as opposed to taking on Seattle. Cam is telling me in chat that I've mushed Perez to get the 25. I suppose that's possible. That would be a season high for him. But, if you're going to get a season high, I think it'll be a season high. You probably do it against the Marlins and whatever they're rolling out these days because their lineup is it's brutal. It's not good. And I was looking at the K stuff. Collectively, they're striking at a 26.6%. Now that's a little bit skewed by David Hensley's 50% and Sanchez 30%. Ali Sanchez. Those guys don't have big samples, but Jonah Bride's going to strike out. There's not a lot of samples of a lot of these guys because there's not a lot of professional hitters in this lineup at this point. Derek Hill is batting cleanup. Jonah Bride's in front of him. I know he hit a grand slam the other day, and good for him. But it's really I'm not breaking news here. The Marlins lineup is horrendous. Okay, one more. I want to ask one more. Chop, how many laps do you got to make until you get to a really good pitcher that's not going to get played much in Zach Wheeler?
Not very many. I like Zach Wheeler quite a bit. Like he's what's the ownership number? Looks
13%.
Very much kept in check. I mean, let's be real. He's as good as he's better than Flaherty, and he's cheaper than Flaherty. Well,
this year, Flaherty's got better numbers.
I mean, this year, technically, just this year, yeah, Zach Wheeler's been an ace for since the day he signed in Philly, man.
Yeah.
So he's got that. He's been really good this year. He fell off for a little bit. He had a little bit of a cold streak, which kind of hurt his numbers. He's back on track now. I like the matchup. I mean, Arizona's tough, don't get me wrong, but I'm looking back. He's had 4 straight. I mean, they play each other quite a bit in the National League. He's had 4 straight starts against them where he's been really good. Lights a 6+ innings, 7+ Ks, limited earned runs. Like this lineup's doesn't scare him, I don't think. And so I like Zach Wheeler quite a bit.
You have anything to add there, Will, as far as Wheeler?
I definitely think he needs to be played today. Does Flaherty have a better matchup? Absolutely. Could Wheeler, go toe for toe in a perfect world scenario? Absolutely. And that's one of the things about Wheeler too. I mean, if he gets through 6 innings, Chop, and he's at 91 pitches, he's coming back out. They're not unless he's gotten pummeled. If he hasn't given up any runs, or maybe he's given up 2 or 3 hits in a run, and like I said, anywhere between 90. Honestly, even at 93 pitches through 6, he might come back out to 7th. That's some of the upside of Wheeler. So love the call on him, and he's definitely. Go ahead, Chop.
Wheeler's a bona fide ace.
Oh yeah,
some of these other guys like Flaherty are fake aces. No offense to those guys.
All right, so I did pull it up on the fly. Pitches thrown per game on average. I've talked about this stat before. If you guys listen to the show enough, you probably know who the number 1 guy is. It is Hunter Green. Hunter Green averages 102 pitches per start. 102. It's his average. He's got let's see, almost 3+ pitches on the next guy on average. Who's the next guy? Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler is the next guy, averaging 98.7 pitches thrown per game. Cole Reagans, Logan Webb, Bassett, Rodon, Lugo, Cease, Peralta. If you're curious who the next 7 or so are.
Some games for sure where he's pop past 100. So yeah. And I think he went through one stretch, Dean, where it felt like every game he was going 7 innings. Obviously, he doesn't have the same strikeout stuff as those guys, but yeah, Webb for sure.
All right, I think that does it for pitching. I want to see if okay, so Cleveland, Minnesota is over. All right, so we should be getting lineups to that at some point for the night game. Again, that game, Cleveland, Minnesota, not on FanDuel, is on DK. If you're going to ask about, I know some people in chat like to ask about umpire stuff. As always, standard acknowledgement Friday night umpire stuff. We do our best. Sometimes this stuff can change. After the series starts, with how they rotate. We don't have a lot of it just yet, but as of right now, I saw no extremes. I'm going to refresh, let some new stuff came in. As far as umpires, like extreme pitchers, no extremes, nothing extreme when it comes to the umpires. Eric's asking if we mentioned Bryce Miller. I mentioned him in passing. I don't. Does anybody? He's sort of like fine, I guess. We didn't really mention Garrett Crochet just because they're just screwing around with him. The price hasn't adjusted. They're playing him 4 innings, and I know they got a new manager now. Want to feel old? A feel old moment for me was Grady Sizemore as the new manager of the White Sox. Like, whoa! I remember that guy was like a stud until he broke his back. It's like Grady Sizemore is a manager now. I feel old. In any event, I'm guessing nothing's changed with Chicago, but who knows? If Crochet is just throwing 4 innings, he's just essentially unplayable. Anything on Miller or Crochet? Will, anything you want to add, or you just want to give me the old summary as far as pitchers?
I'm not playing those guys. My pitcher pool tonight is Jack Flaherty, Zach Wheeler, Robbie Ray, Jamison Taillon, Carson Spears, Edward Cabrera, and Martin Perez. That's my whole pitching pool. Just tried to trim the fat a little bit, Dean. While I don't think Miller he definitely doesn't have more upside than Ray. And so that's just me saying I want to get above the field. Taillon, I don't have to do much to get above the field. Spears is the guy I'm throwing in there because of recent form, Dean. Recent form. I mean, he's got around a 30% K rate, something like that recently over the past month. On the season, I think he's around 2021. But, the projection isn't great on him, but at 6,900, that's just a guy I'm taking a flyer on. That's my whole pitcher pool. I've got 7 pitchers for this slate, and that's where I'm planting my flag. I just kind of got rid of guys like Barrios and guys that I just felt like didn't have the upside that I would need compared to some of their counterparts at other salaries that were close.
Chop, anything you want to add? Just a heads up, by the way, Roth updated cores, downgraded to straight yellow. So the orange has gone away. So a little bit less risk. I dropped that in chat for you to read at your own leisure. Chop, anything else as far as pitchers you want to give me the old summary?
Let's see. Not going to give you a summary. You said Crochet 4-inning guy probably now, so you're not messing him. And we did not mention Bryce Miller, but this is the matchup. It's a fine matchup for him. Cheap enough. He's at home. It mitigates his high fly ball rate that he tends to have. So he's in play anytime he's at home, and I don't mind this matchup at all.
All right. Do hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications. We'd appreciate that. Let us know we're doing a good job. I don't know how many likes we need to get Chopper's knockers today. The BBP suggestion as well. Will's got some props, I'm sure, for the people as well. Also, again, if you missed it, if you're coming in late, free Friday. What is free on Friday? We're giving away the fantasy picks tool, not just for underdog, but for prize picks, for sleeper, for DK pick 6. It's one tool. I'll go ahead and drop this in chat for the people. If you're in those streets, they will help you out immensely. They'll put you in the direction very, very clearly, the numbers that are looking the best as far as the biggest edge as things currently stand. Cam is asking me if I'm playing Ray and Flaherty in single entry. I've not yet decided, but I would just say I do not want to play Ram, Flaherty, and Braves in single entry because that's people play their cash game lineup or a cash plus lineup in single entry. So that's going to be so chalky, and that's something I don't want to do. As Will was talking about before, if you play Ray and Flaherty, you certainly can do that. Probably do not load up on the Braves. Everything else, I think, is going to be low owned, but Atlanta is going to be ridiculously owned in single entry, 3-entry max tournaments. All right, Chop, the board is yours. We're going to be doing our rankings when it comes to throwing stacks, power rankings. And you were ready. 1 o'clock today. You said, "Listen, I already took care of this. I knocked this out." A lot of times I have to slide in, and I'm like, "Hey, this is kind of something I created, so it's it's always on me to make sure it gets done. But I was like, all right, Chop is excited about this. He's knocked it out. I don't have anything to do. Will's nothing to do. But you created the board, so I assume you're happy. You're excited about your power rankings today. Tell the people what your rankings are, and let's see if we can get the chat to give us their best and worst version of what the board is, the category.
Here's the thing, Dean. You know, on Wednesday we did the show, and I was a little behind, so I could not contribute to that tier. And I said, I'll take care of it on Friday, Dean. Don't worry about it. So I did it. So, you know, I had watched Deadpool and Wolverine on Wednesday. I went to go see a movie. That's what made me kind of get behind. So I figured, why not let's rank some Marvel characters? Why the heck not, man? Because there's a lot of good ones. So that's the tier board today. Marvel characters, best and worst, however you describe that. Like my particular rankings were based on not just the character, like the actual character within the comic, but like his skills, the stuff he does, but also the guy who plays him in the movies. This is all movie stuff based. You know, what does the guy who plays him what does he bring to the table, you know, with the personality and stuff. So it's just generally Marvel characters from the movies. Okay.
So like Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Captain America.
Yeah, there's a lot Ant-Man. Of them. Yeah, you get the gist.
Howard the Duck getting some love there in chats. I know that's famously one of the biggest busts of all time in the theaters. I feel like he made a cameo somewhere. Didn't he pop up in one of the Marvel movies as like a joke? Was he in one of the Deadpools?
He did at the end of no, it was at the end of Guardians, I believe.
Yep, it was Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay, it was famously in the 80s. It was like a monster bust. But what do you have, Will? You know, how deep into you are you in the Marvel world? If you are deep into it, are you faithful to the comics? Are you faithful to the movies like Chop? Any takes? What do you think should be on the board? What's too high? What's too low? What are we expecting to see?
A little bit of both. My personal favorite is Iron Man, so I'm interested to see where Mr. Iron Man shows up. That's my personal favorite. But I mean, listen, man, Marvel characters are. It's still. I do think this is still good for the kids. Just for them to, you know, have a little outlet, help them explore their imagination. And I'm not sure how many kids are like in the comic books now. That's something I feel like was kind of back in our day, Chop and Dean. Maybe, you know, we cracked out some comic books, you know, but we also watched the cartoons also. And now they got these movies that you can watch in, you know, 4K, 29 million HD. And it's incredible. So right at your home too, Dean. Like you don't have to go to the movie theater to get movie theater.
We're so spoiled.
Experiences, man. Just crank up the surround sound downstairs. Turn on your nice 4K TV and have at it. So at any rate, I'm interested to see this Chop. This should be a fun one.
All right. So Fistful of Poop is saying, and if anybody is an authority on Marvel. It's Fistful of Poop is saying Spider-Man has got to be number one. So there you go. Some Ant-Man touting there.
I got to preface this, Dean. Remember what the tier board is. There could be multiple elite characters from Marvel, but I can only list one. It doesn't mean Spider-Man or
Where's the Hulk? Where's the Hulk? Why didn't you rank Iron Man?
Doesn't mean any of these other guys aren't elite. I just listed my elite in that. So don't get mad because there's about 1 million Marvel characters, you know. So is what it is.
Yeah, I did a quick Google and I'm familiar with most of them, but some like it's like, I didn't even know like Blade. I didn't know Blade is in the Marvel world. Was he like recently acquired through some kind of? I didn't know he was a Marvel guy, but I guess that makes it. Oh, never mind. I'm not going to spoil anything. All right, go for it, John.
Yeah,
let's go ahead and reveal the board.
So remember, we're also talking about personality and you know, personality and that type of Thor is just off the charts, man. Like he's fun. He's got all the powers that you would want, you know, and then plus the actor who plays it, they've given him a really comedic presence in every one of these films, man. It's pretty awesome. So I'm gonna put Thor number one. He's just a badass. I gotta have Groot there, man. Right? I can't put Groot one, but I gotta put Groot two.
That's your guy, right, Chop?
Yeah, that's my guy.
Groot's your guy.
I literally could have put just about any of these guys from Guardians of the Galaxy in that spot. Like I like them, you know, Star-Lord, Drax the Destroyer, Raccoon.
Can you give me a Groot impression?
What's that? What?
Can you give me? Can you do the impression of Groot? Can you-
Groot? I mean, everybody can do the Groot. I am Groot. Like anybody can do that, Dean. He's just
It's
an
Vin
awesome
Diesel,
character.
right? Isn't it Vin Diesel?
Yes, it is. Can you believe that? They pay him all that money just to sit there and say, I am Groot over and over. But
It's a good gig, man. It's a great gig.
yeah, that's awesome. So I got that Groot up there. That's more of a reflection on Guardians of the Galaxy. I really like that. Doctor Strange, I'm going to put down there in that neutral category, kind of like, I think he's got some cool powers and, he's an okay character, but he doesn't jump off the charts for me. He's certainly not a lower character. I'll watch a Doctor Strange movie, but, it's not like anything jumping off. Now, War Machine, I'm starting to get into the ones I don't like as much here. War Machine.
I don't know who that is. I'm Googling who War Machine is.
He's kind of like a spinoff on, like, he's like a broke man's Iron Man, like, poor man's Iron Man. Like, that's all he is. So, no, I can't deal with that. He just
Who played War Machine?
Well, in the movies, it's Menegalt. He played Menegalt? This guy. What's his name, man? I'm drawing a blank.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm Googling right now.
Oh, man, he's a really good actor.
Hey,
Don Cheadle?
I was about to.
Yes, Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle.
Great.
I was gonna. So Chop. I was gonna be funny and say Sidney Poitier, but that's definitely not Sidney Poitier. For those of you that don't know that. Oh man.
Yeah. Do you know Don Cheadle? Don Cheadle's still to this day, to me, his best role was his first role ever in Rebound: The Legend of Earl Menegalt. If you've never seen it, I don't even know how you would see. Probably on YouTube or something. What an awesome movie, man!
Boogie Nights, he's great in.
True story, but like that was his best. That was his best role. But and then we get down to the worst. Nick Fury. Like, I don't need Nick Fury. Sam Jackson's fine. He's okay. He's okay in some things. Sam Jackson. He's a little bit overplayed. Nick Fury don't do nothing. I don't need Nick Fury, so I'm out on him.
Wow. Isn't he the guy that kind of coordinates them all? Isn't he like the guy that kind of
he does?
I don't need
they gave him some spinoffs. Like they had a show called Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Where he was kind of in that with he made some appearances in that with another guy, but yeah, man,
he's got a cool eye patch. I mean, this is not my world, but I don't like this list, Chop. And the people don't seem to like it in chat either. I don't know. They're divided.
I don't know what else they would want. They like War Machine. He's just a cheap Iron Man. Is all he is. Like, come on now.
I don't know what to tell you. This is it comes with the territory though. When you make these lists, like you said, you're limited to 5. Yeah, well, people in chat, some people agree, some people disagree. That's just kind of how that goes. Will you any issues? Anything too high? Anything too low? What did he miss? What should be on the board?
Nah, I thought Iron Man would have made the cut, but once again, Dean, because I make these lists along with Chop, sometimes you can't capture everything, right? It's just 5, so I'm okay with the list. Chop gave his, why he put things in certain categories, and I'm definitely okay with it. I think the general list, people probably would have had Spider-Man and Iron Man, but I mean, they're all good.
Power, yeah, Don Cheadle in Ocean's 11, very good. Hocho Rwanda was very good. Richie's saying Black Widow or Hawkeye should be dead last. I don't know.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I can only list one of them, but believe me, Black Widow was definitely on that short list for sure. And Hawkeye is just like whatever, man.
That's the arrows, shoots arrows, Hawkeye?
Yeah, I'm over Jeremy Renner.
He almost died. He had that weird accent.
Yeah, they keep showing up. He has an unlimited supply.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
You're not a Renner guy?
I mean, he was good for a while, but now I just think he got kind of played out with all of his movies that are just kind of boring now.
All right, fair enough. Wind River is a good one. It's not a fun movie, but he's very. That is a
very good movie. I actually saw that and I recommended it, and nobody else watched it. That was a good movie, man.
But it's not fun per se. But it's good.
No, it's not fun.
The Town. There's a fun Renner movie for you. Everybody's seen The Town, right?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, new Matt Damon movie comes out tonight on Apple. So there you go.
That's my movie night, Dean.
Yeah,
The Instigators.
As well.
I'm absolutely seeing that one tonight.
Yeah. Monday is Matt Damon power rankings. There you go. That's what we're doing Monday. Okay. Let's dive in. Let's break it down game by game. Again, we lost New York and Texas, so the slate's moving back to 7:07 on the East Coast. Got 2 extra minutes for crunch time. Will, you're going to go first. It's Oakland and Toronto. Jose Barrios versus Mitch Spence. Toronto, almost a 5 total. They're pretty cheap outside of Vladdy. Vladdy is hot if you care about such things. He's been on fire of late. Mitch Spence, not somebody we're afraid of. Oakland's got a 4 total, a little bit above 4, taking on Jose Barrios. And Butler, speaking of hot, he's just kind of come out of nowhere this year. He's been spectacular. Rooker, one of the best hitters in the American League as well, and some cheapies beyond that. Where do you have the Athletics and the Blue Jays?
Man, Steve is getting good at this, man. That's exactly where I was going to put these people. Definitely putting the A's there, Dr. Strange and Groot, and the Blue Jays and Groot. I think the Blue Jays have a shot here. I was close to putting the A's in the Groot category because outside of a couple pieces, they are still really cheap. This is a really cheap stack to get to, Dean. But once again, I think putting them right in the middle is a good proposition there. So I like where Steve has those. He must have read my mind today.
All right, Chop, we got to be efficient with our words. So if you disagree, by all means, go for it. If not, we can move on.
No, I don't have enough of a complaint to move it. It's very similar to what I had them ranked.
All right, Chop, San Diego, Miami. Martin Perez, the chat assures me, is going to put up 25 DK points tonight. Taking on Edward Cabrera, great ballpark, good matchup as well for Perez. But, of course, the Ks are kind of an issue. We talked about Cabrera. Big K rate, also big walk rate, big home run rate, and San Diego does not really strike out. Luis Arraez is going to get a revenge double. 8 total. Where do you have the Fish and the Padres?
Lots of games on the slate. There's going to be a lot of teams that end up falling in that middle tier, and both of these teams fall dead in the Doctor Strange category to me. Martin Perez is not necessarily I think I would probably rather play Perez than the Miami stack tonight, even though I could see having bits of both of them. And as far as the San Diego side, they don't strike out, but that doesn't mean they're going to go out there and put up 10 runs based on a bunch of power. And Cabrera, I don't necessarily want to stack too much against him. So they're just middling teams for me.
All right. I'm told in chat from our guy Butto, it's Xavier Edwards' birthday. So shout out to him. Congratulations to Xavier Edwards. Maybe he'll get a birthday homer. I don't know. We'll see. Will, any issues? Both teams thrown right in the middle, hanging out with Doctor Strange. By the way, somebody was asking why is Chop ranking like War Machine and Nick Fury he doesn't necessarily like. Well, that's kind of the purpose. 4 and 5 are like the teams you don't necessarily want to roster. And that's kind of how it goes. So like the best one up top, that's how we do the rankings. You don't want to put like my fifth best, somebody who's really, really good, and force terrible teams in the category, just to clear that up. Will, any issues here with San Diego and the Marlins?
Nope, I'm good. I may have had the Marlins in the War Machine category, but not enough to not play them.
Okay, so right on cue, Shannon's in chat asking about the Astros. Any interest in the Astros? Well, we'll talk about it. 9.5 total, above 5 team total for Boston, taking on Ronald Blanco. Remember Blanco threw a no-hitter to start the season? That was fun. Houston is getting 4.5 as far as the team total against Tanner Houck. Houck is the favorite here, minus 136. Wind is blowing out pretty tremendously to left field toward the monster at 17 miles per hour. Do we have a big sample on this or Weather Edge? I didn't see anything pop in there, but it looks pretty interesting. 88 as far as the humidity, 78 as far as the actual temperature. Will, where are you putting the Red Sox and the Astros?
Yeah, man. I love the Houston today. Houston is actually going to be a Thor category for me, simply because Tanner Houck has been getting just absolutely shredded here recently, Dean, and the numbers back it up. The K rate's down, the walk rate's up, the ISO is up, so the hard hit stuff is up, and it's been pretty much up all season. He's getting hit hard right now. So I really like Houston. Low K rates on this team, so I think they can put up some runs. And then Boston's going in the group category. I understand that they're facing Blanco today, but man, Boston against right-handed pitching, it's just been spectacular. So I really like this team today. I think they're a team on the outside looking in terms of ownership. People just aren't going to play them today. And I plan to get my shares of these Boston bats in. So they're in the group category for me.
73 game sample, 17 mile per hour winds toward the Monsters, 16% bump in homers, 15% bump in runs. Roth also tweeting about potential rain coming on through. So keep an eye on that. He might be changing this. I'm not sure. Maybe he'll verbally change it when he comes on in about 25 minutes or so. but I'm seeing just yellow right now in Boston. But just be aware, potentially a situation lurking. Any issues here, Chop, as far as Houston hanging out with 4, your Astros, and the Red Sox right in the middle with Doctor Strange.
Yeah, so a couple things, Dean. First of all, the weather edge, when it aligns with Vegas, like I can't imagine if weather was not a factor tonight, if it was a dome and there was nothing going. I can't believe that Boston would be a nearly 5.5 team total on Blanco, and then Houston would be nearly 5 on Houck. Like those are some big numbers. So they're aligning with weather edge. That means something right there. I have Houston a category lower, but Blanco, just little known fact, it means nothing tonight. But he's thrown 116 curveballs. He barely breaks out the curveball about 5% of the time. Throwing 116 curveballs this year has not been hit yet. It's very interesting. So maybe that comes into play during the postseason. Maybe he ups his usage, but he's changed his repertoire this year. He's good, but he's also not pitching as deep into games. He's feeling the effects of never pitching this many innings before. So I can get behind these rankings.
All right. So I saw Groot move to I saw Houston move to Groot. Is that what we're sticking with? Like it was shuffled down.
You're the tiebreaker, Dean.
I will stick with Houston and Groot. I think I wouldn't put them as at the top, but certainly they can get there. I think Houck is better than our chat does, apparently. Several people in the chat are saying Houck stinks. I mean, he's not elite, but I think he's a perfectly fine pitcher, especially on this slate when you compare him to everybody else.
Dean, I know we got to move, but let me say this. It's kind of a similar situation that we're dealing with Mackenzie Gore. So it's not like I don't think these guys are good. I think either they're tired or maybe they're slightly hurt because, throughout most of the season, these guys have been fantastic, and they carried most of this through spring training also. But as we've gotten a little deeper into the season, Dean, I'm going to go with they're just having a little bit of arm fatigue, and I think it's impacting their performance. And so that's really why I'm continuing to attack these guys. Mackenzie Gore and Houck lately, they've just, they're not the same as they were to start the season.
That could certainly be possible. It's hard to quantify, but it's hard to know. But yeah, that certainly could be a thing. I do agree. I felt like that was a thing with Gore, just not knowing anything, but just kind of watching him and then seeing how the numbers play out. Next game is St. Louis, Kansas City, 8.5 total. Michaelis versus Lorenzen. I thought this total would be higher, to be honest. And this doesn't seem like the best weather for baseball. We're looking at 72 degrees, wind coming in from left field. See if Weather Edge likes this or somewhere. I think it's basically, a slight negative, 6.7% bump in downgrade in homers. Not the best hitting environment today. Michaelis, Lorenzen, Cardinals, Royals, Chop. This is your board. Vegas kind of throwing their hands up. Slight favorite for Lorenzen, but both teams are out of 4.25 team total. Where do you have St. Louis and Kansas City?
I got them both in the Groot category. Just Lorenzen, the ERA looks good. The other numbers don't look nearly as good. He seems a bit fraudulent. Doesn't strike guys out. He'll walk some guys, give up some fly balls. He's got some issues, man. I think at some point that house of cards comes crumbling down. So, I didn't even mean to do that, Dean.
You did it. You did that.
There. Miles Mikolas, kind of similar. Okay, we're at KC, Dean. That's all you need to know. There is obviously some shenanigans going on in KC, and they are stealing signs of some sort. And I'm here for it on offense and DFS. You got to play them. So, Mikolas is another 16% K rate. He's not going to strike anybody out, and that's just going to get him into some issues sometimes. And so, let's put these guys both in the Groot category.
Lorenzen definitely has that thing. I love to attack pitchers that give up fly balls and walks. 40% fly balls, 11.3% walks. You mentioned how he's been lucky this year. 3.69 ERA, and good for him. But the Sierra's over 5. The xFIP is right at 5 as well. He has been pretty lucky. The BABIP is 246. Left on base, 81%. Across the board, Lorenzen has been lucky. Peeking under the hood, trouble is a brewing. The tricky part is I don't really think the Cardinals are very good either, but I would certainly side with St. Louis over Lorenzen if you're forcing me to pick one of those two. Will, what do you got as far as KC and St. Louis both hanging out?
Agree
with
100%. Agree 100%.
Sweet. All right, let's move on. Will, the next one is for you. We don't have lineups for either Cincinnati for Cleveland or Minnesota or Cincinnati, Milwaukee. I guess Cleveland, Minnesota is the next game. But Alex Cobb taking on Louis Varland, another one where it feels like it should probably be a higher total with these, pedestrian pitchers, Varland and Cobb. Where do you have the Guardians and the Twins? Again, this just on the DK slate, not on FanDuel. If you're looking for it on FanDuel, you're playing over there. No game 2 over there. But Will, where do you have the Guardians and the Twins?
Both of these teams, man. So for me, you have to just understand I've been playing the Twins all season. Twins are going in group. Guardians are going in group. I think both of these teams could line up. If the total was a little bit higher, Dean, I may have had both of these teams in Thor. But Alex Cobb coming off the IL, Garland, similar situation. But I just think both of these teams are too good. Cleveland, because of the low K rates and ability to flash a ton of power, and then the Twins just for their ability up and down this lineup, Dean, to flash a ton of power. I know Alex Cobb has been around, but he's going to have to prove it to me against the Twins, who've just been playing some really good baseball for a good portion of the year. Love both of these teams.
Just going to throw this out. I think there's a decent chance one of Buxton or Lewis does not play game 2. They both played game 1, and they're both historically fragile. They did DH Lewis in game 1. Buxton played center field. So if Buxton plays, I would imagine he's DHing. But just, be on alert for that kind of thing. Chop, do we agree? Any issues here with Minnesota and Cleveland both hanging out? Again, Vin Diesel getting a lot of friends. Groot's getting loaded up.
My pre-show rankings had both these teams in Groot. I agree with that. And I'll also throw this one out there. If you can get a good number on Cleveland to win that division now, which probably around minus 200 is what you're going to get. Maybe less than that if they get swept today in the doubleheader. That'd be with Joe Ryan going on the injured list now, possibly for the rest of the year. Cleveland's the better team by far. I like that bet.
Let's see. I'm pulling up the numbers as you're saying. I'm see if I can find it. That's the AL Central, right? Let's see. Cleveland, you can get them at. It looks like you can get them at 155 on FanDuel. I don't know if that's changed or not, but that's a number that I'm seeing according to Scores and Odds, and
I like it.
That seems like a pretty good number. That's
number.
The only one that has a 155. So I don't know if that's changed and it has to be updated. Usually it's pretty fresh, but
just got the Dodgers lineup also, D. Just letting you know. Dodgers just came through.
Anything interesting or of note? We got the Phillies as well. Dodgers, Ohtani, Teoscar, Freeman, Smith, Lux, Rojas, Enrique Hernandez, Hayward, Pages in the 9-hole. Phillies look pretty standard. Schwarber, Turner, Harper, Bohm, Marsh, Realmuto, Castellanos, Stott, and Rojas. We're getting all the lineups coming in now. Okay. 15 minutes or so? We got crunch time coming in. I believe it's Taylor Smith. It's Dave Potts. Cheeseisgood. It's Kevin Roth, chief meteorologist. We'll give you the update as far as what's going on weather-wise out there. Chop, this is your board. Cincinnati, Milwaukee. For some reason, no lineups for either just yet, which is somewhat peculiar. 2 hours. Whatever. It's not the NBA. Typically, these lineups are out, but we'll see. 8.5 total. Milwaukee's a slight favorite here. More than slight. Minus 148 favorite. Savali taking on Carson Spires. Chop, where do you have the Reds and the Brewers?
Yeah, tough one here. But I'm going back to Groot for Cincinnati, just mainly because, not that I love the matchup, but my goodness, they can steal some bases, man. And that you can't underestimate that for DFS purposes when you stack a team and they double steal. That's like just money, man. So I'm putting them up there for their team speed. Milwaukee's going to go in the Doctor Strange category for me. Spires is he's not bad. He's not great. He's just kind of a middling pitcher. He's not going to walk guys. And so I don't know. I'm going to put him in the middle there.
Just got the Brewers, by the way. Terang, Chiriot, who's been on fire. Mitchell, Contreras, Adames, Frelick, Hoskins, Bowers. So both first basemen, Bowers DHing, and Ortiz batting ninth. They certainly miss Yelich, but, obviously you can still get there with Milwaukee. You guys know there's more than just 2 tiers, right? This is wild. We're only in Groot and Doctor Strange. This is so funny how it's playing out. Will, any issues here as far as the placements of Milwaukee and Cincinnati?
Negative. I agree. So here's the deal, Dean. This should all make sense because we're not really getting some of these explosive team totals. And not that we're just using team totals, but as the weather starts to kind of change back to how we started, Dean, we start getting cooler weather, run totals start to come down, production comes down. And so, some of these stats, while I really like them, I don't love them, if you will. I like them a lot. But I'm not expecting anybody to score like 12 runs today.
My guy, Fistful of Poop in chat says, you guys do a lot of BSing, but I get the most thorough info here for sure. Appreciate it. And he's telling us we're doing BSing. That's Fistful of Poop that's telling us that. And he's also saying to hit the like button. Yeah, hit that like button. Subscribe. Turn on those notifications. Do all those things. Help us keep the proverbial lights on. And if you guys are late, if you're not aware, Freebie Friday, I'll go ahead and drop the link in chat one more time. If you guys are in the prize pick streets, underdog, DK pick 6, sleeper, our fantasy tool is free for today. All right. Next game is the Battle of Chicago. This is Will, Garrett Crochet, Jamison Tyon, 8 total. Weather looks pretty good for hitting baseballs. Wind's blowing out pretty good to center field. It is not that hot, though. It's in the 70s, low 70s. Where do you have the Cubs and the White Sox, Will?
Well, Dean, you asked for it. You're going to get it. Both of these teams are going in the Nick Fury category. Cubs more so because I still don't think they hit Crochet at 4 innings, and they're going to see a whole bunch of bullpen. White Sox bullpen is awful. I get it. But I'm not thrilled about playing the Cubs today. And then the White Sox, I mean, as we know, they're one of the most dreadful teams in Major League Baseball. And while Tyon is not Spencer Strider, I think he's good enough to really limit this lineup. So both of those teams are going to be at the bottom. But
they kicked Vargas. Vargas got kicked out of the one hole. They replaced him with Nicky Lopez, who's got no punch. But Vargas is one guy I've been playing. He's not been great since coming over, but he's still cheap. Baldwin also, another one of those cheapies, demoted
just
to the
got
9
Cincinnati's lineup. Just got Cincinnati. Looks pretty standard.
Okay. All right. We'll kind of circle back.
Molly's catching. Molly catching.
No Stevenson.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep it moving. We have I'm sorry. Chop. Chicago. Any issues?
I could live with the White Sox. I had the Cubs up. I had the Cubs in the Doctor Strange category just because I don't think we get very much out of Crochet. And even when we do, Chicago's sneaky, powerful against left-handed pitching. And so, I don't know. I was a little bit more bullish on the Cubs, but the White Sox.
Let's split the difference. We'll throw them in War Machine. Chicago traded away Kopech. He's been really good with the Dodgers so far. Bullpens get the bad ones get worse and the good ones get better during the deadline. Like a lot of the bad teams are trading off some of their better pieces. Talk about the Marlins before, getting rid of Tanner Scott. You were talking about San Diego getting better. They got Tanner Scott. I think AJ Puck went to Arizona, I want to say. The Marlins selling off some pieces. Maybe he went to San Diego as well. I'm forgetting. Doesn't matter. But we're on Atlanta and Colorado. 10.5 total. Atlanta almost a 6 total, locked in for 9 versus Tanner Gordon. Chop, where do you have the Braves and the Rockies?
Rockies going to fall into the Doctor Strange category against Holmes, who could be good, but he could be fraudulent, to be determined. The Braves are clear cut for me, the Thor. And that's one of the few teams that really stand out tonight, and they got it. Yeah,
pretty straightforward. I mean, it's an ownership thing. If you don't want to play them, that's probably why you're not playing them. Just leverage however you want, whatever term you want to use. And there it is, the easy button. Will, you're probably not playing the Braves, but like you also, I imagine, acknowledge they're the best positioned team. Where do you have Atlanta and Colorado?
Agree 100%.
All right. We have 4 games left. 5-10 minutes. Crunch time's coming in. Chop, we got to get your knockers. We got to get your BBP suggestion as well. And Will, I'm going to ask for a couple of your favorite props tonight. Will, Phillies, D-backs, Ryan Nelson taking on Zach Wheeler. Phillies have a 4.5 total. Nelson, not a pitcher we're afraid of. They got the standard lineup out there. What do you have, the Phillies and the Diamondbacks?
Yeah, I agree with the Phillies in the Thor category. Steve is getting so good at this, but I am going to be bumping the Diamondbacks down. They're going to be in War Machine. I am not comfortable putting this team anywhere past the middle with Zach Wheeler on the mound. I think he's really good pitching. I think he can limit anything. I also understand that the Arizona Diamondbacks are good enough to score a few runs. But anyway, Phillies up top, Thor, Arizona Diamondbacks, War Machine. And I don't think I'm going to be playing too many Diamondbacks today.
Chop, any issues? You like Philly all the way up top as well?
Arizona is where I had them. Philly I had in the Groot category.
I'm going to keep them up there with Thor. I think they're better than most of those teams in Groots. And they're probably not as good as the Braves, but we only have 6 tiers. We got to work with it. So I will agree. I will lean with Will and break the tie. Mets are in Seattle. Quintana taking on Bryce Miller. No Mets lineup just yet, unless I missed it. I don't think it's come through. Seattle, we do have that. Robles, Arozarena, Raleigh, Turner, Garver, Moore, Haniger, Bliss, and Rivas. Chop, where do you have the Mariners and the Mets?
Man, I'm sorry. Sorry, Stevie, but the Mets are going in tier 5 for me. I just don't.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't like it. This ballpark with this pitcher, I'm gonna pass, man. You know, like if they blow up and he beats me, so be it. But Seattle, though, I was kind of torn on this one. Went back and forth. I'm gonna put them up there in the Groot category, or Doctor Strange. I'm like on the border, Doctor Strange Groot. I just feel like for their ownership, which is going to be non-existent. Quintana, you already said he walks guys, doesn't strike guys out. They've improved against left-handed pitchers via the trade deadline. I mean, I don't hate them. Let's put it like that.
Will, do we have any issues here, or shall we move on?
I'd probably have Seattle or Doctor Strange, but once again, all things considered, this team is so cheap, Dean. I mean, almost they only have 2 bats over 4K. Everybody else is under 4K. I mean, if you're talking about loading up on Flaherty and maybe getting a Flaherty Ray combo, you're going to need a team like Seattle to help loosen up that salary cap that you're dealing with. So I'm okay with them in group, but I think I prefer Doctor Strange.
And you agree the Mets should be hanging out all the way at the bottom? Yeah, producer Steve's not happy about it either.
I think the Mets are overpriced for the type of production we're going to get for them. That's the thing, Dean. Like 5,500 Lindor, 4,900 Nimmo, 4,500 for Martinez, 5K for Alonso. They're cheap at the bottom, but I think they're a little bit too expensive for my taste today. I'm fine with them being in the Nick Fury category, and I'm also a Braves fan. But in tease.
All right. I'm just asking the question on behalf of producer Steve. Yeah, I think the Mets are just not going to be owned too, which is just sort of worth noting. But like a lot of teams are not going to be owned tonight if you're really going to go that angle. Pittsburgh, Dodgers probably not going to be owned. And they have Shohei Ohtani. He's super expensive, obviously. Jack Flaherty, most popular pitcher to take the bump this evening. Pittsburgh, barely a 3 total. Just got that lineup for LA. No lineup just yet for Pittsburgh. Keller versus Flaherty. Will, where do you have the Dodgers and the Pirates?
Dodgers are going to be Doctor Strange for me, and Pirates are going to be in the Nick Fury category. I really like Flaherty, and I hope these skills continue to materialize. Seems like he's back to just being healthy, and so I don't think I don't feel like the Pirates are going to get off here. Trust in my boy Flaherty. Any
umbrage here, Chop?
Very, very close to where I had Pittsburgh down there. Very, very close. So yeah, I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Would you have the Dodgers in Groot?
No.
Okay.
I actually, if I had any like my pre-show, I had them actually lower than that. But so I can live with Doctor Strange.
Last game, Bo Brisky is expected to start for Detroit. We're expecting Herter to be the long man, but that's not certain. Is this a new thing with Detroit where every single day they're just not going to tell us who's pitching, or they're going to have an opener every single day? Robbie Ray, chalky Robbie Ray on the other side, taking on Detroit. The Detroit team's not very good. Great ballpark to pitch in. We've already seen the Robbie Ray experience just in 3 games this year. The highs and the lows. The pants are as tight as ever. Chop, this is you. Giants, Tigers, 7.5 total. San Fran, big boy favorites. Where do you have the Giants and the Tigers?
Yeah, Detroit just for leverage sake. and all that good stuff. I'll put them in the Doctor Strange, even though, pure output, they probably deserve to be lower, but people are going to play Robbie Ray. A lot of people are going to play Robbie Ray. So why not get the maximum leverage? And that'll be Doctor Strange for me. San Francisco, I have them in Groot. They're okay. They're not bad. I don't know what we're going to get out of the pitching staff that opposes them tonight. So it's up in the air, but they've actually got some really solid young hitters that they've brought up this year that have been very impressive, right? Like the Fitzgerald kid, Ramos, and they got a nice little future. Bailey at catcher. They got nice pieces there.
Chapman's been very good too, actually. The ballpark, obviously, not great. Will, any issues?
I probably would have had San Fran in the Doctor Strange category. And then in terms of Detroit, I would probably have them in Nick Fury, but I guess this is our one where we disagree the most. So, D, you can just make the tiebreaker.
I agree with you. I'm going to bump Detroit down. We'll put Detroit in War Machine. We'll put San Fran in Doctor Strange. Look at that. We almost got symmetrical, sort of. Thor, the only two teams hanging out with Thor are the Braves, the Phillies. Groot, lots of friends hanging out with Vinny Diesel. Toronto, Houston, KC, St. Louis, the Twins, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Seattle. Right there in the middle of Doctor Strange, that's the A's, San Diego, the Marlins. How did the Marlins get there? Boston, Milwaukee, Colorado, LA, and San Fran. War Machine, just 3 teams. That's the Cubs, the D-backs, Detroit, all the way at the bottom. Hanging out with Samuel Jackson is the White Sox and the Mets and the Pirates. I know crunch time is here, but the people are clamoring chop. They want the knockers. They want the BBP suggestion of the day. So let's give it to them.
Yeah, all right. So BVP was very, very stingy today. There was not a lot, believe it or not, for such a big slate. But, when you start dealing with openers and double headers and different pitching like that, you're not going to get – bottom line, Freddie Freeman. Got to give it to – Freddie Freeman is going to have the BVP suggestion of the day, even though I don't love it. All right, the knockers, Dean. Dean, you're from that neck of the woods. Have you ever seen some South Beach knockers?
I've been to South Beach.
Because I'm going to South Beach for these knockers, brother. Xavier Edwards and Derek Hill.
Whoa.
I know.
Those are off the board.
Those are off the board. That's what we do here, man. That's what we do.
Somebody said in chat earlier that it's Edwards' birthday. So there you go. You think he'll be celebrating tonight? His home run and his birthday in South Beach? Maybe he will.
Yeah.
Will, what do you have as far as props? Give the people a couple props. I promised them earlier. I know crunch time's coming in a second, but I did want to fire off a couple props. And one last time, I do want to mention that, I didn't realize you were a part of Jug Nation with Kirkwood.
That's my boy.
All right. You get Violent J and the other guy, and then Kirkwood. But yeah, give me props.
Shaggy Two
Dope. There you go.
The other guy.
Couldn't think of his name.
My K of the bidet, the pitcher that should be spraying strikeouts, going with Robbie Ray at 6.5, took more than that projection. I think I can't remember if you were getting that plus money earlier. I did write up. I think you were getting that plus money. And then Dean, I'm going to give you a bonus. This was probably going to be controversial for people on the surface, but a second K of the bidet. I'm actually going with Carson Spears, more than 4.5 strikeouts against the Milwaukee Brewers. Those two props we're going to hand out today. I got more of that, but I posted a couple of things in the prop shop. But I do like those 2 strikeout props today.
All right, we're making them wait in the bullpen too long, hanging out in the green room. Let's go ahead and bring in Crunch Time, Dave Potts. We have Taylor as well, and of course, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. Here comes Crunch Time. All righty. Apologies for making you wait a few extra minutes, Kevin, but big slate, a lot of teams to knock out, a lot of Marvel characters to discuss. So, it was a big show. I'm sure you of course, you log on exactly 5 o'clock on the dot. You support the show, so you know exactly what's going down. But welcome. Happy Friday.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, we got some weather-related stuff to discuss.
Happy to be here.
What was that? Was that?
Is it coming
Eddie
to America?
Murphy? Yeah, I caught Eddie Murphy vibes.
To America. There it is.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that when he's on the balcony and talking to his neighbors? Is that the scene we're talking about? I think that's what
No.
that was.
I am happy to be
at the
here
basketball game.
Yes.
There you go. All right. We're going to have to we did power rank Eddie Murphy movies, I think, not too long ago. But speaking of movies, we mentioned this earlier, new Matt Damon movies tonight in Apple. If you're looking for a movie tonight, Roth, I know you complained you watched some terrible movies. I don't know if it's good or not. I have no idea. But Matt Damon usually pretty reliable. If you got the Apple, new movie coming out tonight on Apple with Matt Damon.
I can't fathom Apple and Matt Damon doing something bad together. Those are like the two best things currently around to just give you something good.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
How random that Matt Damon, one of the biggest movie stars in the world, is just releasing straight to Apple and not going through the theaters. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I presume he got paid. Paid. Yeah, Apple.
Certainly.
Yeah, but it's just it's a different world now, Roth. That's just how it is these days. Yeah. Some big names going that route as well. But Roth, the people want they want weather updates. I know you were tweeting about Boston, Colorado. You did downgrade the risk. There's still risk, of course. You'll talk about that, but I want to hear it. The people want to hear it. Chop and Will want to hear it. So we'll step aside and get out of here and make way for crunch time. You got 40 plus minutes. You lost the Yankees in Texas. So therefore the slate now starts at 7:07. 7:07, Roth. I know. What are you going to do for the extra 2 minutes? It's going to be brutal. Going to talk a couple more minutes of food, I suppose.
Yeah.
Let's let's step aside. Let's get out of here. Big boy slate. That was Chop. That was Will. I was Dean. Hit that like button. Don't go anywhere. It's Kevin Roth. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff. Welcome to it, ladies and gents. You know the drill. It's crunch time. Two of the sharpest minds in the biz. Going to take you up to lock. We might take you through lock. We're going to give you everything you need to know. And we got some absolute geniuses. It sounded so sarcastic, but I meant it. We got some absolute freaking geniuses here. We got
Look at these geniuses.
Look at these geniuses. Dave Foss, Cheeseisgood. What's up, genius?
I don't know now. I feel attacked in a glorious way.
I was just looking for a random compliment and landed on geniuses. And as I said it, I was like, man, this sounds.
It's crazy how certain words just when you hear them, even though the word means one thing, you just automatically take it another way. Right. I love it. That's fantastic.
One of them. Yeah. Anywho, you feeling good? You liking this slate here, Cheese?
Kind of. It's kind of like there's too much. It's like there's two chalk pitchers, one chalk offense, and then 20 really pretty good things. It's super jumbled, but that it's fine. We all have the same slate.
Okay. Yeah. We're looking forward to hearing how we break it down, and maybe you guys will have differences of opinions, which always makes it a little fun as well. We got Taylor in the house. Is this a beard, a new haircut? You got a whole new thing happening here?
I feel like I always have a beard. Maybe it's just the white.
Yeah. Looking good, man. Yeah. Showing your genius a little
also
bit. How you feeling?
Sarcastic there, but I'll take it.
How you feeling about the slate?
I like it. Kind of more so on the hitting side. The pitching is a little bit dicier than you would think for a 12-game slate, but there's stuff out there, at least one thing to like, so we can all play the one guy together.
Okay. I'm just going to take Donut Man's question just because he asked it, and why not? Grinders, do you ever factor in a starting pitcher OPS allowed as an expected runs allowed metric based on the opponent team OPS?
No.
Okay. I didn't understand what that meant, but you guys do, and you say no.
I don't have any argument if that's something you feel like looking at. I mean, I wouldn't stop you, but my answer is no.
Okay, fair enough. Glad we got to that question. James has a weather question, so I will address that. Why would the Yankees cancel this morning while Washington and Boston are going to play in the same weather for the most part? I thought that New York would at least attempt to play, but it would have been harder to get the game in New York than Boston or Washington, and it may or may not have worked out. So I have no qualms with them just saying we're going to punt it to nice weather. Like, that's cool by me as long as you do it, 10 hours in advance, which is what they did. So speaking of the weather, there are those two games that I'm watching, Boston and Washington. Both of those games are just cut and dry, chance for a delay. That's it. I'm not even saying you shouldn't play pitchers in those games, but if you do, there is a risk of a delay in those two games. And it's a similar story in Colorado for the Rockies game. I fully expect the game will play, but there's a chance of a delay, maybe slightly less so there. Models were a little aggressive with rain earlier. have been backing up a little bit. Those 3 games, all chance of a delay. Cheese, do we love pitchers in any of those games or not really?
Not at all. No, I mean, there are tournament pitchers in Boston, and even a semi-viable tournament pitcher in Colorado, but not like nothing that should be severely involved in your player pool.
Great. Okay. If I had to take a blood pressure test, I would listen to Taylor speak for a few minutes beforehand. That's good. I like that. Taylor, you can make some money, man. I'm telling you, with that voice and that delivery. We don't know what it is yet, but you can make some serious money just relaxing people.
It should be sponsored by Calm, I think. One of those kind of sleep apps.
Right. Yes, that would be wonderful. Okay, well, that's it for weather. Basically, play whoever you want, do whatever you want, unless you want zero risk for pitchers. But hitter-wise, I think everything's going to be fine. I also do like the hitting weather in Boston. Winds are blowing out to the Mazda. They're like 15 miles per hour. It's not like the best hitting weather I've ever seen, but it's a little bit of a boost there. And that's pretty much it. There are a few other spots with fine hitting weather. Let's dive into the slate. We mentioned it's a big slate. There's a lot going on. So, Cheese, why don't you walk me through these pitcher options, which we maybe don't love, but we have.
Yeah, I mean, big picture, there's 2 very obvious pitchers that everyone's going to play and will be chalk. It's Jack Flaherty on the high end and Robbie Ray in the mid tier. I think Robbie Ray gets even considerably more ownership on DraftKings than what we're showing. Like in smaller field stuff, I think he's 50% owned. And like he and Flaherty, there are a lot of ways to make them work together. I think that's the chalky combo. There's a whole slew of like decent mid-tier options, like decent pitchers in not great matchups that essentially I'm barely playing any of anywhere.
Just because you want the chalk?
Because I want the chalk or to go cheaper. Because like the matchups for the other mid-tier guys are just like leave them not really that much better than cheap stuff is the problem.
Gotcha.
The one guy that I think you should play, even though you're not playing him, is Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler is a guy that where matchup doesn't matter. Like if we get elite Zach Wheeler, he will mow down absolutely any team in the league for 9 innings. So like get a little Zach Wheeler, like the spend up to be different in your pool. But officially, I am a little worried about the level that I think Robbie Ray gets to on DraftKings, specifically with Brave stacks. I think Ray plus Braves is the thing that gets a little out of hand. So personally, I would much rather get up to Flaherty and then go cheap, which to me, this is DraftKings specific. I'll move to FanDuel in a second, is Aaron Savali and Martin Perez. Aaron Savali is a little bit better pitcher than Perez, but Perez has the better matchup. I have more Perez, but I have a pretty fair amount of both of them. I have plenty of them together to load up on bats. Sometimes sample size is so small that it's silly, and yet I'm going to say this anyway because I've never seen anything like it. Keeping in mind, 2 of these numbers are essentially 0 sample size. The Marlins have 4 hitters. That's almost half their lineup who have very literally the same ISO against lefties as I have. Like, I'm not even making it up. It's 0.
Does that mean they've never had a hit? Like, does that mean they've done nothing?
Never an extra base hit.
Wow.
A couple of them, we're talking like 2 of them have under 10 at bat. So it's not a real thing, but they're probably not much better than that anyway. Like this lineup is horrendous. Jake Berger is good. Edwards might get on base and steal a base, but like I just the matchup's too good for Perez, even not being great. I think you could also throw Carson Spires in the mix instead of Savali in a few lineups, and it's somewhat viable to play Edward Cabrera. The matchup is so much tougher for him. I just prefer the other side of that game. I'm not even going to name all the mid-tier guys. If I'll be curious if Taylor wants to play any of them. I think probably Jose Barrios is the one that gets some ownership there. But there's a whole bunch of names there that are viable-ish. And then on FanDuel, like the main thing to note is Flaherty is $11K and Ray is only $95. With a $9,500 pitcher, you can almost get any offense you want. Like it's just not that hard to play bats. So I have like 1 or 2 lineups with Savali to just totally go nuts with the bats, but you can get just about anything with Ray. And I think the only thing you should avoid is Ray with a full Brave stack in smaller field stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Good breakdown there. Let's kick it over to Taylor. I'm curious what your approach is here. Seems like there's certainly a lot of options, whether you're going with chalk or spreading out. So what do you like?
Yeah, it's a lot of options and very few that you feel comfortable with. The one that I do feel good about is Flaherty. Against Pittsburgh at home, it's just a good spot. He's pricey, but I have the most of him by a wide margin, and I'm kind of spreading things out beyond that. I think I'm going to wind up a little under on Ray. It's just like the Robbie Ray rule, where if he's going to be owned, then you come in under. If he's going to be contrarian, then you play him a little more. But I don't think you're wrong to play him. It is a good spot at home against Detroit, but he's Robbie Ray. I do find myself going a lot cheaper with SP2 more often. Aaron Savali, I have an uncomfortable amount of. I know the matchup against Cincinnati is tougher than Perez's against the Marlins, but he's a better pitcher, I think, than Perez. I do think Perez will be the chalkier of the two, so I'm just kind of playing it from that angle. I think Savali's going to be pretty popular too, but I'm just hoping it's a bit less than Perez. The Jose Barrios thing, I'm kind of playing both sides of. I have a decent amount of Barrios for a sub 8K salary against Oakland, but the A's are also currently my highest owned stack on the slate. So if you're entering multiple lineups in a contest, I think you can kind of do it that way. Do have Ray. As a Ray pivot, I don't hate Bryce Miller in a good park against the Mets. Not an easy spot, but the park is good. He is a decent enough pitcher, even though he's kind of average in terms of Ks. I think he's just kind of a fine lower owned dart throw compared to Ray. I would like to play Crochet, but he hasn't pitched more than like 4 innings in quite a while now. I can't imagine he suddenly throws 100. So he's kind of off the board at his salary. Getting some Perez, getting some Spires. Edward Cabrera, I think, is an okay flyer just because he's a 30% strikeout guy in the mid sixes. Rough spot against a low strikeout lineup, but kind of an ideal tournament type play. And really, that's about it. Kind of limited in terms of where you can go. But for me, it's Flaherty and then a bunch of kind of dart throws.
Okay. Very good. I want to flip it and talk about some of the bats and stacks and some news that might be relevant there. Dean pointing out no Buxton in game 2 for Minnesota. So if you were stacking them, you may have to make some changes. Taylor, as you look at some of the stacks, what piques your interest, good sir?
So like Cheese was saying, we have the Braves in Coors. I think they're going to be pretty chalky by default because while there is plenty of offense, that's pretty clearly the best spot. They've been a bit disappointing, but Coors is Coors. You can afford them if you punt at least one of your pitching spots. So easily the top offense on the slate. I don't hate Colorado on the other side of that game against Grant Holmes. I think they're always fine, considering they are always the lower owned of the 2 Coors teams. Beyond that, it's really not clear. You can always play a team like the Phillies, tons of power upside. Ryan Nelson, very low strikeout guy, due for some regression based on his recent performance and overall numbers. So Phillies look pretty interesting. I mentioned Oakland being my highest owned stack. They're cheap once you get past Brent Rooker. Rios has seen his strikeout stuff really dip. He's super homer prone. I think he's allowed 25 home runs this season. Oakland does have power, if nothing else. So I like them quite a bit in tournament. I'm getting to the Cubs also. We have wind blowing out in whatever they call the White Sox Stadium now. And Crochet, while he's good, he'll be limited, and he has the worst pin in the league behind him. So I think taking a shot on Chicago, hoping they hit a home run or 2 off Crochet and then feast on the bullpen is a perfectly fine route tonight. I mentioned Miller being one of the guys in my pool. I think the Mets are kind of interesting as a super low on stack against him. He is a fly ball guy. They do have good power in the lineup. So as sub 5% on the stack, I think the Mets are going to be on my radar. And by default, if you're not playing 100% Robbie Ray, I think you should stack some Tigers against him if you have multiple lineups in there. I don't think we have their lineup yet. They have a couple of questionable guys. So kind of depends on how it lands, but Detroit in a large field, even in single entry, if Ray is going to be owned by half the field, I think you can mini stack the Tigers against him.
Okay. Just to add a little context, you talk about winds blowing out in Chicago. I think, is it guaranteed rate field? It was.
Sounds right, yeah.
A year or two ago. I don't know. They change it all the time. But for what it's worth, in 66 similar weather games at guaranteed rate field, which is temperature in the low 70s, winds blowing out at 10 to 15 miles per hour, we've seen a 30% increase to home runs and a 23% increase to total runs scored. So a pretty nice boost there historically when we get this kind of weather in that ballpark. So certainly worth noting there. Cheese, when you're looking at the stacks, what are you most interested in? Maybe other than the Braves, which I assume you are most interested in?
Yeah, most in the Braves. And I don't think they're so chalky that you have to fade them. Like, this is not like a 60% owned kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So the next thing I want to say is, like, this slate is so deep and everything is so spread out after the Braves that, like, we do not have to do the thing where I name 15 teams and then you go, but wait, no love for fill in blank. Yes, love for all of them. Like, it really is that slate. Like, I'm just going to name a few favorites. I can't name everything, but pretty much everything is playable. And we also don't have to do the thing where you go, but this team, fill in the blank, is low owned. They're all low owned.
Yeah.
They're all sneaky.
Okay.
Like, you don't have to play so-and-so because they're sneaky, because a team better than them is also sneaky.
Can we add to that? You don't have to do the thing where you stack up 5 players on a team but leave out their best player, or is that still viable?
You don't have to do that. No, because it's spread out. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the thing you do. You might want to do that with the Braves.
Yeah.
But other than that, no, just play the best plays.
Yeah. Okay. What do you like?
My favorite stacks other than the Braves are the Phillies first, Oakland, St. Louis, and the Cubs.
Okay. Fair enough. I think that about covers it. Let's go around the horn, talk position by position. We still have 29 minutes, if my math is right. It might not be, until lock, which is plenty of time. So, Cheese, let's start at the catcher spot. Tell me what you like.
All right. So basically at every position, I'm sort of looking at what the Braves guy is and then kind of comparing everything to that and deciding, like, who am I willing to spend up more than the Braves guy? Like, Sean Murphy for 4,000 is a great play. Mm-hmm. But I would prefer to have Wilson Contreras, Cal Raleigh, or Sal Perez. So if I can afford one of those guys, which, like, and Raleigh's only $400 DK. So yeah. I'm not playing a lot of Murphy outside of stacks, but I think he's very fairly priced, and I wouldn't argue with you if you had him in a cash game. But for the most part, if I'm not playing Murphy or one of those guys above him, it's just I need to be saving pretty meaningful salary. I don't mind a little Mitch Garver. I don't mind Corey Lee for the White Sox. I don't mind Amaya for the Cubs, or Kirk for the Blue Jays. And I forgot to mention Shea Langelier. I like him better than Murphy as well as a one-off added to those other 3 guys.
Very good. All right. Good amount of names there. Taylor, any names you want to add, or anyone that you feel strongly you stand behind and want in your game here?
Yeah, Langelier would be the one kind of by a mile for me right now. I might want to come down a bit on him, but good power hitter. Catcher is catcher. So it's okay tonight, but there's not a lot of can't miss stuff. I think William Contreras is really good. I didn't really mention the Brewers, but facing Carson Spires, it's a pretty good spot for them. He's one of the better hitters. He's pricey, but I think he looks good on this slate. Jake Rogers as a punt against Robbie Ray, if he's in the lineup for the Tigers, I think looks fine. Love the Raleigh call. Sean Murphy should be popular. And yeah, I think that kind of wraps it up.
Let me add this. Cam the Man says, does Cheese or Taylor like the 2K catcher batting fit? I don't know who this is.
So let me mention him for a second. Officially, no, because he's facing Zach Wheeler. Mm-hmm. But in general, like, this is a guy I'm very excited to see called up. Like, he looks like he's probably going to be pretty good. Against Zach Wheeler is not the time I want to play him.
Okay. But if he gets
But-
smoked tonight and doesn't do anything, he might be 2K again.
Yeah,
better
I would
matchup
love for him to be
tomorrow.
2K next time we see him.
Yeah. Okay, great. Good note. Let's see. First base, Taylor, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, Matt Olson at Coors should be the most popular player here, I would think, with good reason. Beyond that, probably only in stacks unless it's like a Shohei Ohtani one-off, Vlad Jr. one-off. Always fine with guys like that. Jake Berger against Martin Perez, kind of as the one okay Marlins hitter, as a fun one-off, I think is fine too. Otherwise, in stacks, Patrick Wisdom might strike out twice against Crochet and then hopefully hit 3 homers against whatever position player is pitching in the 8th inning for the White Sox. Josh Naylor for Cleveland against Louis Varland. I think he is in the lineup. Other than that, it's kind of just stack only stuff. JD Martinez, Justin Turner for Seattle, Gavin Sheets for the White Sox.
Okay. A quick note to any new viewers: if you hear us say things like Berger or Langelier, we actually do know that is not how their names are pronounced. We just one day started calling everyone in French names and it stuck. And so sorry, we're stuck with it. It's a long season. We've got to entertain ourselves somehow. And that is the way we've chosen this year. Cheese, what are you doing at first base?
Yeah.
I just
Speak
feel
for
like,
yourself when you say you don't know that's how they're pronounced.
Yeah. That's, who knows? I just imagine there's a new viewer who's watching. Like, what?
Yeah, you're not wrong. Like
idiots.
we just say it like everyone's supposed to know what we're talking about.
Yeah. All right. First base. What are you doing, Cheese?
So same thing, like compare everything against the Brave. Like Matt Olson is a fantastic play. The only guy I'm playing ahead of him as a one-off is Bryce Harper. And then I'm looking to go cheaper, which I like Josh Naylor and Vinny P. I also like the Patrick Wisdom thing as a value. Jake Bowers is the other cheap guy that I like.
Okay, great. How about second base, Cheese?
There's really nothing worth spending up on. I think on FanDuel, most of my pool is Michael Massey and Jake Cronenworth or something in a stack. On DK, those guys are like 4,000, which is that's not a lot. And Bryce Terang as well. Like those 3 are kind of my favorite. But I also don't love it enough that I would be fine playing Whit Merrifield in cash. And then I've got guys like Nolan Gorman, Brooks Baldwin, just random cheap whoever's. Got a little Spencer Horwitz. Essentially, I don't care that much who I have. So if I've got the money to play Massey, Cronenworth, or Terang, great. If not, I don't care. I'll just go cheap.
Okay, great. Taylor, your thoughts a second?
Yeah, it's pretty ugly. I think Terang would be my top choice if I could just pick anyone. But I do have quite a bit of Geloff as a part of the Oakland stack. You can also play Toro, but I think Geloff is just the better hitter. So that's where I'd lean. Nico Horner in a Cubs stack. Andy Banez, if he cracks the Tigers lineup, would be on my radar. Altuve is always playable because he's Altuve, and Fenway is good for righty power. Don't think anyone's really playing him tonight either. So that is okay, but not a lot to love there tonight.
Third base.
I mentioned Toro at second. I'm playing him more at third. He's cheap, under 3K on DraftKings. Austin Riley should be the chalk here in Coors. Patrick Wisdom, you can also play him at third. Ditto for Isaac Paredes. I do have Paredes more at third. Wisdom more at first for what it's worth in a Cubs stack. Jose Ramirez, I think the Guardians are pretty interesting tonight against Louis Varland. DraftKings only, I think, but 6,100 for him. Shouldn't be very popular on this slate, it looks like. And then kind of a dusting of guys like Chapman, Bregman, Mark Vientos, if you're stacking the Mets, and Berger, also playable at third.
Very nice. Cheese, your thoughts at third base?
As usual, compare everything to the great Braves bat. The only 2 guys I would play ahead of Riley if I have the salary, Ramirez and Devers. Otherwise, I want to save some salary. Agree with the Wisdom thing. On DK, I don't mind Miguel Vargas as a punt. I have a little Matt Chapman, and then I like Alec Boehm more so on FanDuel, where he's a little cheaper.
Okay. How about shortstop?
So Bobby Witt is the guy you want to spend on, with Ellie De La Cruz being a pretty interesting spend up to be a little different pivot. You don't have that much money. Like, I don't think you have to spend all the way up at shortstop, but it's always great. Those guys are amazing. But I do like where Willie Adames and Ezekiel Tovar are priced. So I have some of them. And then, of course, we have the Brave, Orlando Arcia, middle of the lineup. Only 37 on DK. I don't like him quite as much on FanDuel, where you can just play Tovar and Adames for basically the same salary. Because it's so hard to get to Witt and Ellie, I do actually have some punts at shortstop on DK. More in stacks like Leo Rivas for Seattle or Schumann for Oakland. Yeah, there you go.
Cheese, do you play like the cheap, chalky Brave as a one-off, or is that a bad strategy and leave that for people in stacks and get different with your one-offs?
At a position like shortstop, I actually don't mind him at all as a one-off because he's kind of his own salary tier. Like, you don't really have a direct pivot.
Gotcha.
So if that's the thing that fits, I'm completely happy with him on his own.
Okay, makes sense. Taylor, what are you doing at short?
It looks like I'm kind of paying down for the most part, which is a little frightening with Nicky Lopez and Javi Baez. If Javi Baez
Why
is in
play
the lineup,
Bobby Witt if you can play Nicky Lopez? That's my
exactly. And Javi Baez may be the worst hitter in the entire world, but I think he's questionable. So if he's out, then obviously I'm not doing that. I do have quite a bit of Lindor headlining the Mets stack against Bryce Miller. No qualms with Ellie, Bobby Witt, guys like that every single night. Dansby Swanson in a Cubs stack, I think, looks pretty good. There's a guy, Zach DeCenso, for 2K flat in the Houston stack if you need the salary. But yeah, I don't like the way my shortstop pool looks at the moment, so you should probably pay up instead.
Okay, then take me to the outfield.
Outfield, a lot of good stuff here as always. Oakland, Brent Rooker, Blade, Lawrence Butler. He's in the lineup. I think he is. Miguel Andujar. 4 A's you can play. I'm getting to Luis Robert quite a bit as the one okay White Sox hitter. Obviously, Coors with Ozuna, Ramon Laureano, Jared Kelenic, both cheap for Atlanta. Laureano's 2-3 on DK. Should be pretty owned, I think, as a result. Matt Vierling, if he cracks the Tigers lineup, we're also waiting on that. The Cubs with Cody Bellinger, even lefty-lefty against Crochet. Don't love that, but again, we're hoping for some bullpen there. Suzuki is more palatable from the right side. I don't dislike the punt Will Brennan for Cleveland in a Cleveland stack. Stephen Kwan, if you can pay up. And Garrett Mitchell, I think, is a pretty good cheapie for Milwaukee.
Good stuff. Cheese, what are you doing there in the old outfield?
Yeah, loaded as always. You can go all kinds of price ranges. The Braves are obvious. Ozuna and Soler to spend up. Kelenic in the mid-tier. Laureano to spend down. I prefer Schwarber as a one-off over anyone on the slate. I also like Alvarez. Mid-tier wise, Rooker is up there as well. And then mid-tier, Arozarena, especially on FanDuel where he's 31, but even on DK, I like him. I like Brandon Marsh. I like Lawrence Butler. I'll stop there. There's a cotillion. No, cotillion is not a number, but there are that many. That's how many there are.
A cotillion is a thing, though, correct?
It is, but it's not a. It's like where they teach you how to drink tea with your pinky.
Yeah, and maybe dance fancily, maybe.
I believe so. Yeah,
there might
that's
be
how many
some-
outfielders there are.
There's a
Drinking tea
cotillion.
with the pinky up. That many outfielders.
There's a cotillion of them. Very good. You know, the people want some home run calls, so I will let you all marinate on that and think about that. And in the meantime, we got to make sure they know the best deal in the biz is right here at RotoGrinders. Get ahead of the competition. RG Premium. Got an option for whatever level you're looking for. 6-month combo subscription, exclusive price, $469.99. That'll save you 250 bones as opposed to buying 6 individual months of combo premium. If you're not a fan of commitment, you can get a month of RG combo premium for 120 clams. Great stuff there. Or if you just want to test run, dip your toes in the water, 3-day pass is $19.99. That is barely any cheddar at all Check the links in the description for more info. $19.99 for a 3-day pass. I was very excited. I saw some sunglasses online, and I don't treat myself to fancy things. $40 for these sunglasses is pretty pricey for me. And I bought them, and I was very happy with them. And day one, I went to play basketball, and I put them down, and some jabroni took a shot, bricked it, landed right on the shades, and broke them. Day one. I was also the jabroni who did it, to be clear. I was the one who bricked the shot and destroyed my own sunglasses. I could have had 6 days of RG Premium, and instead, I have broken sunglasses. Don't be like me. Sign up for RG Premium.
If you'd gotten the 6 days of premium, you probably would have made the shot too.
It's probably true. These are facts. Oh yeah, that was just we got to talk about some home runs. That's what we're here to do. Taylor, what do you like?
Let's see. I kind of like, I didn't mention him at shortstop, but I think O'Neal Cruz is always a fine one-off, even against Flaherty. I think I'll take him to hit a home run tonight. Let's go Patrick Wisdom. And as a rando, I will take Rhys Hoskins.
Very good. Cheese, you got some names?
I was hoping you'd let me go first because I was going to take Patrick Wisdom just to be like that. But I'll go Jake Bauers in his spot as the cheap guy. And then Cal Raleigh, and up top we'll go with Brent Rooker.
But to be clear, that's a double endorsement for Patty the Tooth.
Correct.
Pretty good. We'll take that. Butho says, "Damn, Roth, you must be made of money. Too many stories that you spend like Mr. Monopoly." I don't.
He spends at least $19.99 per day because every day there's something that costs him more than that.
That is probably true. Generally, it's like on my kids, but yeah, that's not very much money. All right, let's see what we got here, which is the whole point, by the way. It's not very much money to get 3 days of RG Premium. Make sure you sign up. Let's dive into the QQs. We have, 15 minutes or so until first pitch, and I am scrolling up in the RotoGrinders Discord where all the cool kids are. Brink pointing out, this is from the last one, the first Marvel movie was Blade. I don't know if that's true, but have you guys seen the movie Blade?
Long time ago. That was a while ago.
It was so good.
Speaking of sunglasses.
Yeah, the coolest, man. Damn, Wesley Snipes was pretty awesome. Shout out to Blade. Okay, now to real questions. Yaz's Army says, Taylor, in a large field DKGPP, is it okay to leave up to $700 on the table to complete a 5-3? I got this. Absolutely. $700. We're not scared about leaving $700 unless we are. I'm correct, right?
No, yeah, you're right. In baseball, I think it's always okay to leave something on the table. Maybe more so on a smaller slate, but I do think that's okay tonight.
Yeah. Okay. What do we got? Any pinch hit risk for the Braves in Coors? Taylor, you got any pinch hit risk that we should be worried about for the Braves?
I don't think there's going to be a ton. They generally just run their guys out there. Take a look real quick. No, I don't really see much, so wouldn't be too worried about it.
Okay, great. Where are we at here? Crazy Coop says, FanDuel, Singletary, Roth, are bats safe in Boston? Yes. And fellas, what is your exposure to the Astros and your thoughts on the Astros? Cheese, do they fall in that camp of maybe didn't mention them, but are perfectly fine?
Yeah, like I would not argue with you at all. Personally, I do not have an Astro stack. I have a couple Alvarez's, but they're so very much right in the thick of things. So if you like them, play them. But personally, I did not get to them.
Okay, to be clear, thank you. I have angered the Blade and Marvel stands. I was just reading.
People were all in on that. Yeah. Wow.
I was just reading a comment. Apparently, Blade is a fictional character and by Marvel Comics, but he was not a part of the MCU apparently, so he doesn't count. Is what I'm understanding.
This all sounds made up. The MCU. You can put whoever you want in that thing.
I have no idea. To be clear, I'm not really an MCU guy, but I did like the movie. I know that much. Cheese, FanDuel, single entry, Devers, O'Reilly is a one-off.
Devers.
Okay. Where we at? DKGPP. We got back-to-back questions from D-Rock Taylor. You can have both. Raleigh or Bangaliers as a one-off. That's the first one.
Depends on if you have like a chalky primary stack, because I think Longley might be a little owned, but if not, then him. If you want to be a little more off the board than Raleigh, I think
Okay,
it's going to be less chalky.
Okay, and then follow-up question with an Oakland stack, Ray Tyon or Wheeler Savali?
With an Oakland stack?
Correct.
One more time with the pitchers there.
Yes, Ray Tyon or Wheeler Savali?
I think Wheeler Savali.
Great. Cheese coming to you from Carolina Guy. By the way, I'm taking these questions from the RG Discord. If you haven't signed up, joined up, that's where I take the questions from first. So please jump on in. I will get to the YouTube in just a sec. Hit us with a little thumbs up if you don't mind, if you are watching on YouTube. Cheese, FanDuel GPP, your favorite outfielder with 31 hundo.
There's a ton, but I would say a Rosarena.
Okay. FanDuel single entry, Savali or Berrios, Cheese? You eating some Berrios?
No, Savali.
Did I tell you the story? I ate Berrios once. I don't know if I've told this. I was me and my buddies.
Cheerios with beer as the water.
Yeah, we had a long night. Me and my buddies. It was like at a bachelor party or something. The next morning, I was trying to be a hardo, and we had some Cheerios, and I just cracked open a beer and poured it in, and just went to town on it. Horrible. Do not recommend, especially after a long
I can't
night.
believe that's horrible. It doesn't sound horrible at all.
Who would have thought that it would be truly terrible? Yep, don't do it. Just take my word for it. Not good. What do we got? DKGPP, Taylor, do you mind Friedel as a last man on 4,400 on DK or opinions on anyone else in that range?
4,400?
Yep.
I think Friedel's fine, but let's see. Springer, maybe. Kelnick is also in that range, so you got options.
Okay. We'll go to one more question, Taylor, here. Actually, it's an interesting one. Your favorite NRFI on the main slate. That means no run first inning. The kids love betting these. What do you got? The kids love betting home runs and NRFIs. Taylor, where's your favorite spot to see no runs in the first inning?
Let's go with Detroit, San Francisco, maybe.
Okay. All right. I approve. You got to say it with a little more confidence, but I approve.
I don't hate the San Diego, Miami one either. That's
okay.
Doable.
Cheese Lord Matty Ice is DKGPP 3,700 in the outfield. Varsho to go with my Toronto mini stack or somebody else?
I would do Varsho with the Toronto mini stack.
Okay. Brink says, Kevin, anything on radar looking better or worse on a last-minute sweep of MLB weather? The only games that I suppose matter now are Boston and Colorado. Boston looks kind of as expected, lighter rain through the first half of the game, and maybe a chance for a delay in the latter parts of the game, but I think they probably finish 9, likely without the delay. And then Colorado, we're just looking at forecast models at this point, and they don't show anything too alarming. So the answer is no. I think everything looks pretty good in general. Cheese FanDuel, last spot to fill out the stack, Soler or Olsen?
Olsen.
Okay. Taylor, NBA DFS is FanDuel Cash. Win, Wisdom, or Bohm and Dr. Zenzo?
That's the Astro guy.
DeZenzo is his name. I think
is there really a D?
That R is an E. It's
okay.
D-E-Z.
Okay,
He's
when
Dr.
I saw the
Zenzo
R,
now.
I thought it was Dr. Zenzo.
That was actually the first Marvel movie. A lot of people don't know that.
That's good. So anyways, the question was, now that I'm aware of what this name is, Win, Wisdom, or Dr. Zenzo and Bohm?
I would take Win and Wisdom.
Okay. Taylor, right back to you here. FanDuel single entry KC main stack with Oakland. Okay, so it's a KC main Oakland mini or Cincy main with an Atlanta mini, Taylor.
I think I would lean the first one, but I do like the sound of both.
Okay. Geez, back to you. Blink 182, who still has his crown, by the way, in his avatar, says large field DK tournament is using Flaherty and Wheeler with a White Sox full stack, Patty the Tooth, and 2 Coors one-offs, enough to win it all. Well, that White Sox stack is the scary part, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, the whole point is they're super cheap and they allow you to get the 2 studs with the Coors bats.
Mhm.
I mean, it's unlikely, of course, that the White Sox do enough, but I mean, yes, like ownership wise and what you have to do salary wise to get that stuff, it's there. I like it.
Yeah. Also, he's pointing out he's got like a narrative behind it. It's their first game with the new manager, so maybe they'll actually try to hit the ball this time.
It's remarkable they haven't yet tried. That's then the problem is they have not wanted to play well.
But now with a new manager, here we go. Is Blade a Marvel character? Of course. And this is TJ, by the way, if you don't know, he owns a company discussing Marvel. So he's a pretty good source for Marvel things.
He would know more than Blade would know.
Yeah. He knows more if he is a Marvel character than Marvel does. TJ knows, and it has been settled. Blade is a Marvel character. Where are we at? We've got 5-6 minutes until lock, and I don't think we're going to catch up on all these QQs, but we'll do our best for you here. FanDuel cash. Cheese, do you pay up at short or punt for guys like Adames and Wynn? Like either way. Oh, I guess
yeah, either way is good. I think in cash you probably don't get up in shortstop. So I would say probably land on Adames.
Okay, great. Taylor, DKGPP, it's a 3v3. Riley, Isbel, Soler, or DeYoung, Kalinic, and Ozuna.
Second one for me.
Is it DeYoung or DeJong? Do we know?
DeYoung.
I don't. It is with a Y? Okay.
Yeah.
Y sound. All right.
It's with a J, Kevin. Look at it.
No, I know it's with a J. It's with a Y sound. I see it's with a J. Where are we at? I'm getting conflicting info on whether Lane Thomas is playing for Cleveland. Was he scratched and replaced with someone else?
I wouldn't have that information. I mean, did an alert come through? Our lineup page shows Thomas. So if anyone else has other info, pass it along. But that's not anything I've seen. But I wouldn't really see it. I'm on the show. So
okay. All right.
If anyone hears anything, Dean seems like the guy that would know the answer to that. Dean, if you're around, has something happened to Lane Thomas?
Yeah. And usually the chat is pretty quick about firing those kinds of changes out. So let us know if we see anything here. In the meantime, another couple questions before we hit lock here. DKGPP, actually skip the question from Jay. FanDuel single entry, De La Cruz or Schwartz? I'm stacking KC.
Schwarber.
I like Schwarber.
Yeah.
2 for 2. Schwarber.
Both like Schwartz. Cheese, DKGPP. I've got a 5-3 Atlanta KC. I have Laureano with 600 left over. Should I upgrade Laureano to another outfielder or just eat that 600?
In a 5-man Atlanta stack, just keep Laureano.
So I think the issue is that maybe DK shows him as scratched, but there have been no alerts. It's not maybe showing anywhere else, and I don't know if we trust.
Yeah. I mean, we have a full hour before that game. I mean, don't assume something because DK shows it, especially on a doubleheader. But I have no idea. I don't have any information on that.
Yeah. Does DK still have the little weather icons near the games to show you what the weather's going to be? Or
Yes, they have little clouds. And
let me tell you about those little clouds, friends. Don't trust those little clouds and those little rains. It's not their job to give us things like that. That's on us. What else do we got? Cheese, Burleson or Butler, FanDuel single entry?
Butler.
Okay. DKGPP, Taylor, Yaz's Army says, I found myself with 75% clarity. Is that crazy?
Not tonight. I have something similar, so we'll ride or die together.
Nice. Okay. Roth, have you ever gifted your kids RG Premium for 3 days instead of tacos they don't eat? Do it as an experiment. I like that. I think my 2-year-old would absolutely love 3 days of RG Premium. I'll give it a shot. Cheese, is something like the $100 single entry series on FanDuel. Do you expect our cousin Bobby Witt to be 4% owned according to the RG ownership projection, or is that maybe at lower price levels?
This may be a little low. I would guess he'll be single digits, double that, but still, he's not going to be chalky.
Okay. And we are seeing some other sources, people pointing out MLB.com shows Brennan at second. The lineup app doesn't show Lane in the lineup. So we still have an hour, like she said. So we'll see. We don't know the answer, apparently, is the answer that we have for you for now. Okay, now I'm jumping into the YouTube chat. We had a bunch of questions in the RG Discord. Make sure you hit us with that thumbs up if you do not mind, sir. Cheese, Vivaldi, and Pena, or Ray and DiZenzo? That's not a person?
Ryan Velati for the Tigers, I guess. What was the question again?
Yeah, that's it. Him and Pena, or Ray and DiZenzo? Dr. Zenzo.
Ray and Dr. Zenzo.
Okay. Again, I just read what's put in the chat. I read what's on the teleprompter, to be clear. We are less than a minute until lock, and we've got just a glorious question coming into lock here. We'll get to that in a second. In the meantime, Taylor, thoughts on Edward Cabrera and a FanDuel GPP? The Padres are still occasionally gutless.
Just for the strikeout stuff, and he's 7K. So yeah, you can fire that off.
Okay, great. We're moments until lock. And so I ask, your favorite hamburger topping is the question. Your favorite hamburger topping. I think we have to remove cheese. And even though cheese may not like it, I think we have to remove cheese from the equation because it's too standard.
And that makes it a cheeseburger. That would be what's your favorite cheeseburger topping. We're talking a hamburger. A hamburger doesn't have cheese.
A hamburger
has cheese.
A hamburger has
cheese. That's what. Then what's a cheeseburger?
Well, it's just another way of saying it's like, what's a Coke? What's a soda? It's a Coke is a kind of soda. A cheeseburger is a kind of hamburger.
Why do they have the word? Like, why do they even make the word?
I don't know. It's a solid point. Your favorite topping on a hamburger? This is an important question. Taylor, have you thought this out? You're out west. You might say guacamole.
He's going to say something green for sure.
Yeah, I feel like something crazy might come, but I don't know. Your food take's not too insane. What do you like?
The first thought I did have was actually avocado. So
yes.
You kind of have me pegged there, I think.
Yes.
I am a mustard fan. I think someone said mustard. All types. Dijon, yellow, honey, if you want to feel a little bit frisky. But yeah, I think avocado is okay. I think onion ring is also kind of a sneaky good call there.
I'll build off that. My first one is just like ketchup or whatever. I put ketchup on all my burgers. Sorry, I do it. I love it. I don't apologize. It's great. But fried onions of some sort. Sometimes they do like crispy onion straws or onion ring. Any sort of fried crunchy onion on my burger is freaking killer. I absolutely love it. That's top tier for me. Fried egg is a really good one as well. Cheese, do you have a specific topping that you prefer on a burger?
I mean, bacon.
Bacon is, it's the right answer, really. You know,
I feel like that should be the chalky answer, but I mean, it's bacon.
It is. I think we're done here. Everyone say the answer is bacon. It's definitely bacon. You're right. We're getting too fancy. It's bacon. It's the best thing you could put on a burger. Hey, guess what? We did the thing. We did all the things, in fact, and we should do it again another day. So for Taylor, for Cheese, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you tomorrow. You have been